All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up. Have no fear. Boss is here. You just can't see him. He's actually, he's perfectly, he's laying perfectly on my lap for once, which is nice. Bro, it's so funny you're saying, look at this. I don't know if it'll come through. He's legit like, worship me now. Just don't bite the mic. All right, boss. You can chill here. It's fine. Everything's fine. Just don't bite the mic. But guys, thank you for joining me today. We have some PlayStation topics that I'm actually pretty excited about to talk about. I know that there's a lot going on right now. You know, there's definitely some negativity going on in the world. Nintendo prices, the prices of everything. But you know what? I'm still feeling pretty good. And where there's a will, there's a way. And I have the will to play games and enjoy games. So we will find the way. Do you know the way? You think Xbox is vanishing in the news loop? For now. I think Xbox has been a little bit quiet at the beginning of April, but they got a bunch of games coming out. And Corey the Legend Landiga comes in, drops a 5-bomb. Corey, the legend.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
We know he does it in the name of boss. Corey, thank you so much for that, buddy. Yeah, guys, we'll see if we can get some membership gifts going today. Any member trains, maybe. If we want to become a channel member, we'll see if we can hit that goal of 25 and give boss here some of his treats. But yeah, when it comes to Xbox, I mean, I know South of Midnight, just came out, or the reviews came out. I imagine Xbox is going to be talked about a little bit more going into April when like a bunch of games start dropping on PlayStation. But we are talking about Wolverine today. We got two things regarding Wolverine that I think are relevant. The first is Insomniac actually directly acknowledging Wolverine, giving us a very small update, nothing too significant, but you know, we don't really hear from Insomniac these days because, you know, they're busy making Wolverine and who knows what else. It's never releasing. Wow, beast mode, bro. That's brutal, man. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. What was I just saying? Boss, I know you want to bite the mic stand, but you can't. $80 for remasters is wild. Bro, I saw the on the PlayStation YouTube channel the launch trailer for The Last of Us Part 2 on PC, and man, I went to go check the comments, which is always a mistake, but I went to go check the comments. Literally almost every comment I saw was just people making jokes about it needing to be remastered again. And I'm like, I know, like, it's funny because there's a lot of jokes thrown around when it comes to Sony remastering games, but with The Last of Us in particular, like, man, they get the brunt of it, bro. It was shocking. I don't think I saw a single person be like, I can't wait to play this on PC. I just saw people making remaster jokes. Dude, Corey, I know, man. It's weird because it's like, it feels so far away still, but it's not. Like, it's going to be here before we know it. I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were talking about, you know, our expectations for 2025, and here we are over 4 months in. So I gotta say, man, like, I think April's gonna be a good month. I do. I think May is when things are gonna get, like, I don't know if it's gonna be early May, but like mid to late May going into June, I think things are gonna start getting crazy. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's gonna be chaotic in the best way. Hopefully. That's my hope anyway. And we're going to need it, man, because like all this all this negativity about prices going up and stuff. We're gonna need to see some good stuff. GTA 6 at 100 is justified. Nintendo games, hell no. You think so? You want that Ghost of Yotei gameplay? I think we're gonna be seeing Ghost of Yotei in May, maybe June, but I'm thinking May. I don't think we're gonna see that this month though. But speaking of PlayStation games, a game we are apparently going to be seeing very soon, I mean as soon as next week, is Marathon. So we're going to be talking about that. It seems like, well, it doesn't seem like, both PlayStation and Bungie are teasing Marathon. So a reveal is coming. We're hearing from Jeff Grubb that full reveal is coming next week. I haven't listened to the music yet. I saw that people, I don't know if they data mined it, but they got a couple of soundtracks apparently. I believe it's good though. I mean, Bungie is usually pretty good with their soundtracks. So we'll talk about that. We're talking about Wolverine. Like I said, we have two things to cover there. We're talking a little bit about From Software because it seems like, I don't know, apparently Hidetaka Miyazaki himself felt the need to address the fact that they're still making single-player games. Okay? They're still making single-player games. They're not going full multiplayer. I guess that makes sense for them to acknowledge that because Elden Ring Night Rain is coming out next month. That's a multiplayer-only game. And then this new game, The Dusk Bloods, is a multiplayer-only game. So I guess it does make sense that they have to acknowledge it. But, I mean, did anybody really think that they were walking away from single-player games? I didn't. I don't think many people did. Game Pass filler, welfare pass. Whoa. Count Quackula and Muhammad just tag teaming it here. I mean, look, man, I know people make jokes like that, but at the rate things are going, I don't know. For a lot of people, that's gonna be a viable option, and I ain't gonna blame them. I ain't gonna blame them. Solaire says, "Damn right, welfare pass is saving me cash." You only buy games when you can afford to. I mean, yeah, I was like looking at the games coming up this month, May, and then also thinking about the other games that are coming or expected to come later in the year, and I'm like, oh geez. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Nintendo might increase the price of the Switch 2 in the US. I saw that they're delaying pre-orders. Yeah, it's getting real. It's getting real. Nintendo announced that they're delaying pre-orders to basically, I guess, analyze the tariffs and see if they have to adjust accordingly. And what's really interesting about that is people were saying that, you know, the price we're seeing right now for the Nintendo stuff, that's with the tariffs. And this confirms that that's not the case. This was the original price. Come on. That's the price of freedom. Gavin says that's the price of freedom. Well, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I don't think there's a question. If the tariffs go through, I don't think there's a question of whether or not prices are going to go up for consoles and games. I think they will. I think that's obvious. The question is by how much. And Hellbound 1981, another legend comes in, drops a 5-bomb, brings us up to 10 members on the day. Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. Every time I see Hellbound in the chat when I'm streaming, I'm just imagining him eating dinner. I mean, I don't know what you look like. I don't even know what you're eating, but I don't know. I just imagine he's chilling, eating his dinner, watching some MBG. Yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to the price increases, man, because they're going up seemingly if nothing changes. The question is by how much. We do know that Sony apparently stockpiled PS5s in the US. So I wonder how many they stockpiled, if it's enough to last like a year or just a couple months. All right, let me add this to the counter here. Thank you again, Hellbound. I'll give you a Crazy Arnold soundbite. We also have From Scratch Gamer, member for 16 months. He says, here to say it, or hate to say it, sorry, but there are no tariffs on digital games. Yeah, that's another thing that I feel like I didn't mention yesterday, but is very important to acknowledge that, yeah, digital games are digital games, man. Like if the price of digital games goes up, that is just a publisher thing. That's not impacted necessarily by something like tariffs. Did I get an email for a survey about the Switch 2? Robert, you're saying you did? No, actually, I didn't. Interesting. So Sony really wants to know. Robert, the only question I have. Well, I mean, you could tell me, Robert, like what questions you got. You think that's not real beast mode? I don't know. I kind of believe it. I do, because Sony opened up that like beta program. The only thing I would want to know is if Sony asks anything about the pricing. So how do you feel about the pricing of the Nintendo Switch 2 and its games? I've gotten surveys from Sony before. Not many. I think I've gotten like one or two. And yeah, they'll ask you just questions about games and gaming. Saying PlayStation Senate, they were all about the Switch 2. Yes, they did price and everything. Guys, did anybody else get this? Robert, if you're literally the only person here that got it, I don't know if I can believe it. Jeez, that's really squeaky. Illegal Monkey says he didn't get it. Muhammad didn't get it. You think a $50 price bump for the Switch 2 is not unthinkable at this point? That wouldn't be too bad. I mean, it would suck to see it go up, but that wouldn't be too bad. Well, we'll see what happens with Nintendo. I mean, this was Nintendo's week, the big reveal. We talked all about it, talked about the implications for PlayStation. At this point in time, though, yeah, 46%, I think, is the percentage for Vietnam. And I think that's where, like, for tariffs, and I think that's where Switches are being made. So, guys, let's start with Wolverine. Although before I do that, we have a super chat from Blake Wilson. Blake, thank you for the super, buddy. You're saying, hi, MBG, with the $80 threshold now crossed, GTA 6 being $80 is now a real possibility. It might even cost $100, especially if they offer early access. Good luck avoiding spoilers. It would be so funny, wouldn't it, if GTA 6 came out and they're like, no, it's $70. I mean, wouldn't that really put Nintendo in a spot, in a position? When it comes to spoilers, yeah, man. I mean, I've been trying to use Twitter less. I'm failing most of the time, but I basically generally stopped posting on Twitter, but I still go on the just kind of scroll. So if I can just get to that point where I'm not doing that anymore, but I guess I'm not too worried about spoilers, at least for something like GTA 6. I mean, at this point, I'll take anything for GTA 6. I'll be honest. With you. But I don't know if GTA 6 is going to be $80. There's been a lot of conversation that it's going to be a $100 game, an $80 game, $90 game. They definitely could charge $80 now. But Beast Mode, you're saying, let's go Wolverine, my brother. I need it. I want it. Well, all right. I got two things for you with Wolverine. I'm warning you now. I don't think they're major. One of them you might consider pretty significant, but I'm a little skeptical of the source. So the first is coming directly from Insomniac. So people are constantly harassing Insomniac, asking them about Wolverine. And I actually came across this from Genki Japan. Oh, hold on. And of course, I lost it. Here we go. So somebody said, so Insomniac Games 19 hours ago put out a post saying a new update for Marvel Spider-Man 2 PC dropped today containing optimization, stability improvements, bug fixes based on player feedback. Somebody responded and it got like 26 upvotes, 4,000 views, nothing for PS5, no news about Wolverine, ignoring everyone, such a great team. So just straight up taking shots at Insomniac here. So then Insomniac decided they were actually going to reply to this individual. And they said, we are actively working on Marvel's Wolverine for PS5. We will share news about the game when we are ready to share it. That will always be our answer. We cannot act on everything requested when things take time, resources, and the green light to share them. So again, it's not like they're out here giving us an actual update on Wolverine saying, here's what's going on with the game. But they did take enough time out of their day to answer this person and say, we're still actively working on it. Who posted that? Who posted that? I don't know if instead of who put that there. It's beast mode. I can never tell anymore. Oh, so you actually want to know so you can give them hell? I think it's actually, if you just go on the Insomniac Twitter account, their post from 19 hours ago excuse me, about Spider-Man PC. Yeah, the person, Jogurt, that's his name, I guess. But yeah, this, I think look, it's not a big update, but the truth is people are thinking or were thinking. I've seen people actually talk about Wolverine being canceled or like quietly being canceled or whatever. And I get it. We haven't seen or heard literally anything, but Insomniac's confirming no, they're still working on it. So we got to see it this year. But the second thing here, this could be a much bigger deal, not just for Insomniac and Wolverine, but for Sony. So I don't really cover this stuff too often. You guys know I got deep into it, I think, summer of last year, but things started getting out of hand. And I'm like, all right, well, I just want to make the focus on the games, and not necessarily the culture wars surrounding them. But sometimes it's unavoidable. Boss, can you stop attacking Leia? Boss, come on, take it easy. I know you want some treats, man, but chill. Guys, if you haven't, consider becoming a member. If you haven't already, consider dropping membership gifts. We're at 10 members on the day. Not trying to pressure anybody, but boss is getting very feisty. I didn't give him any treats yesterday. He's like, bro. But anyway, when it comes to the culture war and whatnot, I'm not trying to like dive deep into that, but there was this big hoopla last year about a company called Sweet Baby Inc. And one of the brands that was very much intertwined with the controversy surrounding Sweet Baby Inc. was Sony, because Sony's been working with them for multiple years now, I think since like 2021, and multiple games like Spider-Man 2, God of War Ragnarok, Miles Morales, and I think others, were worked on by Sweet Baby Inc. and consulted on. And I came across this report from that park place, and the title is Sweet Baby Inc. reportedly dropped by Sony as gaming giant cancels several projects with SBI involvement. So they say it's been a long time coming, but it looks like the industry may finally be waking up, according to a verified insider speaking with the Gothic Therapy YouTube channel. Sony has allegedly begun canceling contracts specifically involving controversial narrative consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you got to be careful with the source. I don't know this source. Okay, I don't know who these people are. I don't know if they're reliable, but just the fact that this is even being reported on, and could be a thing, I think is worth pointing out. And oh my God, we got a full-blown member train going here. We got Corey the Legend coming in, dropping a 10 bomb, and then following that, Illegal Monkey dropping a 5 bomb, and then Pogging out Following it up with 5 more members gifted. All 3 back to back to back. Guys, thank you so much.
Holy shit.
Hype. W's in the chat. They're celebrating. They're celebrating like, yes, no more SBI. No more SBI in our Sony games. Oblivion Remake is getting shadow dropped next week, according to Detective Seeds. Yeah, I saw him talking about that. Yeah, it seems like something's getting ready to happen with Oblivion Remake. Guys, thank you so much for the member gifts. We can feed the beast.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
I'm trying to figure out where he went. Boss, get your ass in here, boy. It's time for some treats. Oh, here he is. He's coming. He's like, it's time. And Hellbound 1981 dropped another 5 bomb. Bro, thank you so much. I think that just brought us up to 35 members on the day. Unknown says he wants some reps. If we end up hitting 50 members, we'll do some reps. 25 for the treats. You unleashed on that dude on Twitter? Damn, Beast Mode. You're fast, man. You weren't playing around. All right, boss is eating good. Guys, thank you so much for the member gifts and for the support. We have a super chat from Kendallfire22. He says, at this rate, Switch 2 is going to be adjusted to $800. The PS6 is going to launch for $2,000. Let's effing go. Can't wait. Who else is getting that $2,000 PS6? No, it won't be that extreme, man. That's too extreme. I'm not saying the prices probably aren't going to go up. I'm not saying the PS6 is going to be cheap, but no, $2,000, I'd still buy it. Let's go. Do it, Sony. I dare you. $2,000 PS6. You know, I do, in all seriousness, how many consoles do you think they would sell for $2,000? Right? Like, because the assumption is no one's going to buy it, but somebody's definitely going to buy it. There's definitely going to be some people buying it. The question is how many people? Would it be a couple million? Would it be more than that? Well, hopefully we don't have to find out. 1,300? I still think I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on if the situation with the tariffs. Well, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of the U.S., you know, like living in the U.S. If the tariffs go through and then they stay, you know, at the very least, it's going to be that way for 4 years until 2028. But whoever takes office in like 2029, if they choose to undo that, so, you know, this is why when somebody mentioned, I forget who it was, I think it was Moonshot. He talked about the possibility of Sony launching the PS6 in like 2030. And I'm like, well, I mean, if things really go down this road and they stay this way, you know, because a lot of people are thinking that this is going to get reversed or it's not going to go through, it's not going to hold. But at the very least, if it does, there's a very high likelihood that whoever gets into office next after Trump will probably unwind that and undo it. So you could see the possibility of Sony maybe deciding, you know what, we're going to delay the PS6, maybe even by a year. And that could have a huge impact on the pricing. But yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. Dwayne Johnson, 2028. Oh, yeah, I don't know about that. You clearly don't know why Trump is using tariffs. I think I have a relatively good notion, an idea of what's going on with the tariffs, but it, you know, even Trump said himself, and anybody else who's advocating for the tariffs, and I'm not here to say I'm for or against them. It's not, you know, it's not what this conversation. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But even they will tell you, it's like there's going to be some pain. There's going to be some short-term pain. And Matt Fu comes in dropping another 5 bomb on you guys. He's keeping the member train going. He brings us up to 40 members on the day. Matt Fu coming in. Saying, don't forget me, bro. I'm doling out some gifts as well. So we're just 10 away Matt Fu sets you up 10 away, and we hit 50. We hit a second goal, do some reps. Frank Yeager, what's going on, man? That sound will always be goated. That's Mrs. MBG's favorite. It's literally been 2 days. It's over. I mean, look, man, there's a lot of panic, and I get it. The implications are intense. I understand why people are freaking out, but we just got to see how things iron out, you know? I mean, look, I was woken up at 5 in the morning today I thought a tornado was outside my house. I thought it was coming for me. I'm not kidding. Me and my whole family got woken up because suddenly at 5 in the morning, I hear this loud noise. Just sounds like there's a train outside my home, and there's like hail going up against the window, you know? I'm like waiting for the window to break and like running out, like jumping out of bed, you know, family get in the basement. It was crazy. It was crazy. It actually knocked the wind was so strong it knocked a portion of my fence down. I had to put that shit back up earlier today. And I won't say what state I live in, but I live on the northeast. So it wasn't a tornado, luckily, but it was so crazy. It was like a hurricane for basically like 5 minutes there. And it was actually trash day too. And I looked outside after the storm passed, and my God, it's crazy. So I guess what I'm just saying, man, all I'm trying to say is, you know, you got to always keep in mind that you don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. Just take it one day at a time. Try to calm down. I say this, but I'm also the same person that loses my mind. So I'm just trying to give good advice, not just to you guys, to myself as well. Beast Mode, you know where I live. That sounds like what happened to you this morning, Dillo. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you live in the same area as me, but there's I've been seeing there's like crazy storms happening like all over the country. It's the end of times. It's end times, guys. You guys remember when everybody thought the world was going to end in 2012? Prince G, you think I'm in Pennsylvania? Shamel 2014, thank you for the $10 super chat, buddy. You're saying, to be honest, the pricing seemed on par. $500 is the same price as the Steam Deck. This is a next-gen console. Back 5 years ago, the price increase feels kind of natural, gapping the $80 to $90. I mean, yeah, you talk about the Steam Deck. I think one of the bigger criticisms I've seen for the Switch 2 so far, Shamel, is people feeling frustrated that this console is being priced about the same as a Steam Deck, but like doesn't have anywhere near the performance. And I did find out, and you know, again, I'm not like trying to be a Nintendo hater or anything, but to me it was just like I'm good. I saw that apparently games like there were multiple third-party games tested on the Switch too, like FF7 Remake and I think Cyberpunk and a few others, and they all run at 30 FPS. They can't be played at 60 FPS. And I'm going to have a deeper conversation about this on Sunday with you guys. I was thinking about if I wanted to do it today, but I wanted to save it for Sunday so we could just talk about like some Sony games today. But basically, I want to have a conversation about how it seems pretty clear to me that the Switch 2 is not going to be a competitor in any way, shape, or form to PlayStation. And that's interesting for me because I've spent literally 2 or 3 years talking to you guys about the potential of the Switch 2 being a viable competitor to PlayStation. Josh, you're saying, oh, man, I got to figure out how to get, I'm sorry about that, Josh. I'm going to go check now. My bad, dude. I'm usually on top of that. Sometimes the notification doesn't go off for me, and I don't know why. Yep, you're right, Moonshot. My bad, or Josh. So I'm a day late to it, and I apologize, man. But you're saying I've said many times, or I've stated many times, how the same energy is never kept when it comes to Nintendo. And the irony is they are and have been the greediest ones out here. I'm looking at 2011 Killzone on PS3 comparisons to Metroid 4 on Switch 2 in 2025. I get graphics aren't everything, but come on, that's $115 here in Canada. Yeah, so Moonshot or aka Josh, um, I've been seeing some of this stuff floating around as well, and it's a slippery slope because I don't want to accidentally like step on a landmine or something and like or get caught in like barbed wire. And I'm referencing like the fanboy conversations that are occurring right now. But it is true, I think, to a certain degree, that people, I think, are harder on Sony than they are on Nintendo in some instances. Now, I did state yesterday, and I do still stand by this, that generally speaking, it seems like the energy is being kept about the same because I am seeing people freaking out on Nintendo. It's like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not seeing people being, like bringing that energy to them. I am seeing it, and it is pretty consistent. However, the one thing that I do think the situation highlights is that things aren't nearly as bad on the PlayStation side as people have made it seem. Like, to me, that's the most important takeaway from this. And it's not to make it sound like things are disastrous on the Nintendo side. It seems to me like those who are genuinely like, I mean, just Nintendo through and through, and they've been waiting for this. It seems like the pricing for them is not going to stop them. And that's fine. I think that's how it should be. If you're that excited for it and you can afford it and you want it, who cares what anybody thinks? I mean, I'm just being honest, right? Like, go live your life and enjoy yourself. But, talking about most other people and people who are involved in the conversation and having the discussions, from what I can tell, my takeaway is that things are not nearly as bad on the PlayStation side as I think people make it sound. And I'm not trying to make it sound like Sony does everything amazing or great or like and this is the problem, man, because I've been distorted and twisted and people have manipulated the things I've said to the nth degree. You guys know that. But I'm pretty fair when it comes to Sony. Like, I will call them out and I will say what I have a problem with, and I will not hold back. Anybody who's been watching me for any period of time knows this. But because at the same time, I'm willing to talk about the good things and I get excited about things. Like, for example, one of the topics we're even talking about right now, where we're going to get deeper into, is the amount of people that saw the leaks for like Wolverine. And they just immediately, they're like, oh, they made Gene ugly or whatever. And it's like, sweet baby ink, it's over. I'm not even excited. I don't even care anymore. And I'm like, what? Like, we're not even going to give it a chance. Like, we're seeing this isn't even pre-alpha footage we're seeing. This is literally early development footage that's never supposed to be seen by the public. And we're just going to all collectively say, yeah, Insomniac sucks now. Wolverine's going to suck. And Sony sucks. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not on board with that. You can keep that. I'm going to maintain my excitement. I'm going to maintain my interest because it's Wolverine, bro, and it's Insomniac. And I'm not going to base... I'm trying to weave these topics together. But I'm just trying to say, man, that people have absolutely overreacted to things that PlayStation has done and announced, and they make it sound like it's really that bad. And what I see time and time again are people who are actually buying these products, buying these games, engaged with these products, engaged with these games, coming out and being like, actually, this is pretty great or pretty good. And there are some rare instances, like I said, where collectively people are like, this is pretty weak. But more often than not, things are leaning into pretty good territory, you know? And when you look at the situation that's occurring with Nintendo right now, it seems to me that it paints a picture that this could be what PlayStation's doing. PlayStation could have a much less powerful console. The Pro could not even be a thing. They could have no care in the world about graphical fidelity. They're like one of the biggest criticisms I saw levied towards the Nintendo Switch Direct, Switch 2 Direct. And yeah, Soler, I did talk about that. It could get worse, right? Sony could follow suit and raise their prices. And like I said, we'll cross that bridge if we get there. One of the things that people were criticizing Nintendo for yesterday, even Shuhei Yoshida was, which is shocking to me. But Shuhei Yoshida apparently did a live reaction to the Nintendo event, is they were like, bro, they didn't show enough first-party games. You know? Like, they showed Mario Kart World, they showed the new Donkey Kong game, and they showed Kirby, and people were excited about that. But there were definitely people saying, like, there just wasn't enough first-party shown off. And I'm like, I guess the first natural thought that came to my mind is, if we sit here and imagine the PlayStation 6 reveal event, what are we expecting from first party Sony? Are we expecting 2 or 3 games? Or are we expecting more than that? What are we expecting for a launch lineup? You know? And I'm just saying, I guess the expectations are just different. When we talk about keeping the same energy, I just think that at this point in time, after seeing the reveal of the Switch 2, after seeing everything that has happened this generation with the PlayStation 5, the best thing to do is kind of what I have attempted to do, but have failed to do with Xbox, which is they're not on the same wavelength anymore. They're both doing different things, and they have different audiences. And I don't feel like it's my place, because I've been seeing everybody jumping in. You know what I mean? And that's natural. Everybody's going to chime in. And I have been giving my opinion. I'm not going to pretend I haven't been covering Nintendo or giving my thoughts, but I don't feel like I have the authority, right? Or like, I'm not the person that should be telling somebody you shouldn't be excited for what Nintendo showed you. You shouldn't support the Nintendo Switch 2. You shouldn't go buy these games. I just don't feel like I'm the person to be doing that, because it's like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like, if this was something related to PlayStation, maybe I would feel much more inclined, much more comfortable, because that's what I cover, that's what I follow, that's my forte, right? That's my wheelhouse. But at the same time, I do have my own thoughts, and I do have my own opinion. And my opinion is that I didn't really care too much for, anything that was really shown for the Switch 2. I have no problem with it. It just makes me realize how I actually really do, like, I like what PlayStation's doing. That's what it made me realize. I like what PlayStation's doing. I like how they're handling their ecosystem and most of their studios, or a lot of their studios. And it makes me hopeful that they will continue to do this, because Switch and Nintendo are in their lane. Sony and PlayStation are in another lane. And I think at this point, Xbox is clearly somewhere else. I don't even know if we want to call it a lane, but they're just, they're on a whole different mode of transportation altogether. So, yeah, bit of a tangent there, but yeah, boss says, I guess that's how he's thanking you guys, by being ultra cute. Unknown, bro. No way. But again, Moonshot, I'm sorry for missing those direct donations yesterday. For some reason, I must not have heard the notifications go off. Sony lowered their price to $399 with Astrobot Game of the Year. Stop with the lies of them raising prices. That's a really good point, actually, Alien Isolationist. And yet, that's a great example, dude. That's a great example, I think, of what I'm trying to highlight here. And I think what Moonshot is trying to highlight is that, like, people have been so hard on PlayStation for the longest time and still are, and being like brutal towards every announcement they make. But the reality we're looking at right now is if you go on PlayStation Direct in the US, go on PlayStation Direct, Sony is selling, now if you're comfortable buying digital games, a $400 Astrobot bundle where you get digital PS5 for $400 with a free copy of Astrobot. And it's like, dude, that has to be the best deal out there right now. Again, assuming you're comfortable with buying your games digitally, which a lot of people are. You know, a lot of people are. And I don't know, man. To me, that is something that I don't think can or should be downplayed. That's all. I just think, and you get Astro's Playroom with it too. I'm not saying we should be like freaking out like Sony is, what they're doing with this $400 bundle is the best thing since sliced bread. It's not about that, but it's about, I think, just keeping things in perspective where it's like, hey man, people have been taking shots left, right, up, down, and center at Sony. And right now they're the ones out here being like, guys, you could buy a PS5 with a free copy of Astro's Playroom and an Astrobot, and you're going to have access to pretty much every single major third-party game that comes out. You're going to have GTA 6. You're going to have access to that. And you're even going to get some Xbox games. And I mean, look, man, I'm not trying to come off as the fanboy, but I know that's how people are going to take it. But it's like, if you're somebody who's trying to get the best bang for your buck in terms of an efficient machine that can run games well, have good looking games, 60 FPS across 95% of games, and have access to the overwhelming majority of games that are coming out, especially like, again, something like GTA 6. I mean, how is that not right now like the best deal? That's all. That's all. It's just, could that change? Yeah. Will it change? Maybe. But I don't know, man. That's just my view of it. But like I said, Nintendo and Sony are doing very different things. In terms of value, the PS5 Astro 400 bundle is greater than the Series S. You think the Series S is greater than the Switch 2? Oh, I wouldn't not go that far. I will take a Switch 2 over a Series S any day of the week. Any day of the week. How many buck bangs do I get out of this? Oh, is this a reference, Illegal Monkey, to the Costco people or whatever? The Costco dad or whatever? But yeah, we're going to have a deeper conversation about this. I got a little bit off track, naturally. I want to have a deeper conversation about this, a more extensive conversation about the dynamic between PlayStation and Nintendo now that the Switch 2 is fully revealed and we know everything in terms of competition. When PlayStation does something for your pro consumer, it's ignored. Johnny Gaming, you're not wrong about that, man. I don't know. I don't know why it's become popular to dunk on Sony. The only thing I can guess is because they have had some missteps and some mistakes. And I think that those mistakes may have been amplified due to the higher expectations that, frankly, Sony has created themselves. I mean, that's the thing about being on top. Like Sony being on top at the end of the PS4 generation going into the PS5 is those expectations are not lowering. If anything, they're increasing. And so it gets harder and harder to kind of keep up with every single announcement and everything you do. And I think the reality just becomes you're not going to make everybody happy, you know? more Ghost of Yotei info soon. I think we're gonna get that soon. But guys, let me shift gears here. I want to get back to this this report about Sony apparently severing ties with Sweet Baby Inc. None of these companies are pro consumer, they're only pro your money. Like that absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, dude, the reason why Sony is selling that $400 um Astrobot bundles for two reasons. It's because they want to get you in the door. You buy a $400 console, you're likely going to start buying more games. You're likely to maybe subscribe to PlayStation Plus, and maybe, who knows? You're likely to give them more of your money. That's the whole point. They want to get you in the door, get you comfortable, and hopefully, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as they're offering stuff that seems worth it, that's fine. That's the whole point of what they're doing. But yeah, we can never lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, these are corporations and they're trying to get money. And that in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's all just about how they're going about doing it. The attach rate to the PS5 at this point, yeah, I imagine it's pretty high. If I had to guess, pushing polygons I think it's probably higher than the PS4. Although maybe live service games could make it the other way around, maybe a little bit less. But anyway, again, this is coming from the Park Place. They say it's been a long time coming, but it looks like the industry may finally be waking up, according to a verified insider speaking with the Gothic Therapy YouTube channel. Sony has allegedly begun canceling contracts specifically involving controversial narrative consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc. The insider, who has provided accurate information to Gothic Therapy hosts, master of the TDS and Writing Raven in the past, claims these were not random cuts. They were deliberate, targeted terminations of in-development projects that had Sweet Baby Inc. embedded in them. They say, if true, this could mark a significant turning point in what has become known online as Gamergate 2. The rising backlash against forced narratives, identity politics, and game development, and the shadowy consultants who reshape beloved franchises to serve political messaging. Sweet Baby Inc.'s grip on gaming may be slipping. Over the past year, Sweet Baby Inc. has come under increasing scrutiny for its behind-the-scenes role in some of the most divisive projects in recent gaming history. From the name of the game, I saw on like Sacred Symbols, they were making a joke. They call it Self Forever Sleep Squad. I forget what they call it. We're talking about Kill the Justice League here. Self Forever Sleep Squad. So yeah, some of the most recent divisive projects in gaming history, Self Forever Sleep Squad and Spider-Man 2, their fingertips have been all over the scripts, character arcs, and tone. They've proudly boasted about centering marginalized voices, but gamers have repeatedly pointed out that all they're really doing is homogenizing content, gutting it of risk, edge, or authenticity in favor of bland moral lectures and identity checklists. Kim Belair even told a story about starting Sweet Baby Inc. because she was upset that gamers had a choice in their protagonist in titles like Mass Effect 2, citing a desire to have everyone experience her specific choices. She noted that her black female Commander Shepard, the game's customizable protagonist, first interacted with Jacob Taylor, another black character. She was so moved by the representation she was experiencing, but soon realized it wasn't what everyone else was going to see. She then decided to try and change that. Quote, the general idea was, holy moly, representation is cool, but in my Mass Effect experience, this is almost an accidental form of representation because it's something that's a possibility. It's not guaranteed for any player depending on the kind of character and the Commander Shepard you make. End quote. She continues, so I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if this wasn't an accident, but it was actually the intention of the game designers. Let's see. So yeah, other titles that they've worked on, God of War Ragnarok. I think there's more. I don't know that they have them. So this is where things get a bit confusing. Josh, I'm going to read your super chat in just a moment. I just want to make sure I finish up this write-up before we talk about the Switch again. Gavin, you're saying it's hard to remove the palm from my face. What are you referring to? like Sweet Baby Inc. or the rumor regarding them. This is where I don't know, things get a little bit confusing because I don't know if there's like if there's some hairs being crossed here, or wires being crossed. Oh, everything she said. Yeah, yeah, that is pretty cringe, man. I mean, like look, I'm trying to be a reasonable person here. I'm trying to be a calm and reasonable person. It's like I get it. You know, that's something that inspired you and you think it would be cool if more people got to experience it, but like the notion that, you know, that the notion that your customizable experience should not be a customizable experience and should be forced upon everybody else because that's just better. That's stupid. You know, like you can have that if it's made that way, and that's fine. If you guys want to make it, look, if there's one thing I've said before about Sweet Baby Inc. and companies like this, um, and I'll say it again, it's that if there was a wider audience for the type of experience you want to create, you wouldn't have to put this stuff in IP that's already established, in stories and characters that are already established. You wouldn't have to do that. And I still stand by that point where it's like, if it's fine if you want to make your own stuff, it's fine if you have a dream and you have your own feelings on things and you're like, this is how I want to make this character. And this is the type of representation I want to have. And this is the type of experience. All that's fine. But it's like when you feel like you got to insert that stuff into, again, IP and stories and characters that's already established and kind of mess around with it, like for your own agenda, because that's exactly what it is. That's when that's where most of this backlash has come from. That's why people have basically hyper focused on Sweet Baby Inc. Now, have people gotten way too extreme about it? Yes. I think people have gotten way too extreme about it. I think some people clearly went off the deep end with this stuff. But you want to be entertained, not indoctrinated. I said last year when we started learning about Sweet Baby Inc. and what was going on with this company and their involvement with Sony and Sony games, I've said multiple times Sony needs to sever ties with this company. Like they need to just sever ties. And that's why this report really caught my eye, because I'm like, it seems like they did, according to the reports and the rumors, like they did sever ties with them. And it's not shocking either, because Sony just got a new CEO and PlayStation just got a new president. And, you know, the old leadership is out. And I think that it was obviously very trendy. The trend from 2019 to 2024 was embrace this stuff. This is the new world order. You know, like this is how things are going to be now. And whatever. And we saw it basically infect everything. And to be clear, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, again, people wanting to, you know, express, like, you know what I'll give as an example? Like, I'm not trying to, you mentioned South of Midnight. Like, see, South of Midnight, I think seems fine because it's like, it's an original game. You know what I mean? It's an original game. It's telling a story and it's, you know, Josh, let me read your chat though. You're saying it's important to note that pre-orders for the Switch 2 are delayed, but the launch date is the same. The situation is fluid. Now it makes sense why they kept prices out of the direct, even they don't know. That would explain it. Yeah, it is important to note that the Switch 2 has not been delayed. Only pre-orders in the US. Only pre-orders. They're still targeting a June 5th launch. That hasn't changed. But they're probably going to be opening up pre-orders a little bit later than April 9th because they have to decide whether or not they're going to increase the price, and if so, how much the price increase will be. So thank you for letting us know, Josh. I didn't mention that earlier. I think when I mentioned When I mentioned pre-orders being delayed, I think some people may have taken that as the whole console itself was delayed, like the release of it. Yeah, exactly. South by Midnight is the game that the devs wanted to make. It's not SBI. Yeah, there is a difference. That's why I'm totally okay with Sweet Baby Inc. just going away, because they're a consultancy company. Like, they're literally, I think, the worst type of company. And like what they're doing is the worst type of thing, because it's like you could have a perfectly fine game that the devs wanted to make, and they're like, well, maybe we think you should change this and change that and tweak this and tweak that. And it's like, or maybe you should just make your own game. How about that? You could do that, you know? Um, and I would prefer that, because the market will speak. This is why everybody always makes that joke, and it's not even a joke, but it's just the thing that the modern audience, and it's like the non-existent modern audience, because it's just the modern audience. What they really mean by that is like people who share the same beliefs, whether they be political or otherwise, right? And I just think that gets too far away from what brought audiences together in the first place, which is not necessarily core beliefs politically, but just good stories, interesting characters, stuff that, again, I've talked about this extensively before, like universal stuff that people that can just naturally bring people on board. And if you're talking about making a product that people are going to buy and engage with, it's probably in your best interest to do that. Um, yeah, yeah. You get it. You get it, Raven. So again, we have to take this with a pinch of salt. All right, bro. Are you serious? No. Okay. Sorry. So when it comes to this report regarding Sweet Baby Inc. and Sony severing ties with them, I just thought it was worth covering. We have to take it with a grain of salt, because they're reports and they're claims that are not they're not verified or officially announced. But it would not surprise me in the least if this turns out to be 100% true, because there's no denying, in my opinion, that Sony saw the reaction. They saw, specifically with Spider-Man 2, the reactions from people, where, like, basically not even the reactions from people, but just the fact that Spider-Man 2 got caught up in it, in the culture war, in the whole Gamergate. Is that what they're calling it? I guess Gamergate 2 or whatever. And I'm sure Sony was pissed off about that. Whether it's justified or not, those are the arguments that people are going to have. I think to some extent it was. At the same time, though, I think some people, again, I know people don't like the middle ground take. You either got to be on one side or the other. I get it. But it's like, was Spider-Man 2 a good video game and a fun video game? Yes. Did it have some nonsense thrown in there by activist developers that really felt like they got to send the message? Yes. Was the game worse for that? Yes. And the solution is so simple. And I think that this is where maybe Sony kind of woke up and they realized, like, just don't do that. Just don't do it. You don't do it. You just let Insomniac cook the way they're naturally going to cook. Don't get any consultancy companies involved. And they'll probably just... One other thing I want to mention here, and this is how this kind of ties in with Wolverine, right? Because we started talking about Wolverine. Wolverine leaked in its entirety. We know this, okay? We know. You think Concord definitely woke Sony up. Woke Sony. See what we did there? Wolverine leaked in its entirety. I think it was December 2023. There was a massive hack in Insomniac, and literally every single thing about Wolverine up until that point, development-wise, leaked out. And The game was literally still years away from release, and it's getting cooked. It's getting cooked where it's people are like, it's got sweet baby ink all over it. Again, like they're looking at Jean's character model, being like, they made her ugly, which, we don't even know if that's a final character render or whatever. But, people looking at the story, people just like pointing out all these problems. Now, fast forward to, I believe, late 2024, so like late last year, and we find out that the two main directors of Wolverine are not in directing anymore. They've been replaced. And it seems clear that some major change occurred. Now, how serious of a change was it? It's hard to say, but I like listen, you don't have to be that in the know with game development to know that it's a big deal when your game changes director midway or even like, beyond midway. I mean, at that, I mean, you're talking 4 years of development, 3, 4 years of development. It's probably, 3/4 of the way done. It's a big deal when that happens. That's not just a change that just casually occurs. Doesn't mean it's a disaster. It just means that something significant took place. You do have to wonder. You really do have to wonder with the timing of all this, the reports, if maybe Sony actually did wake up and realize being associated with this company and with this type of political activism is simply just going to hurt us now. Maybe back in 2020 and 2021, maybe it helped them a little bit. Maybe there was confusion. Maybe because of the unnatural increase that PlayStation and all gaming brands saw in 2020. The same year that, I mean, let's face it, the Democratic Party's taken over, right? And there's a big there's a big push for all the stuff that you saw sprinkled throughout games from 2020 to 2024, where it's like it's all about the inclusivity, the DEI, etc. You already know this stuff, right? Yeah, exactly. It's no coincidence. I think Sony maybe confused the artificial inflation they saw of user engagement, spending and sales in 2020 and 2021 during like a global pandemic. You throw in political activism in that, and you kind of got this weird soup, I guess, that they're now maybe realizing that, okay, actually, I don't think that this really helped us at all. It was just it was the timing of it, that seemed to, I guess, these two things came together at the same time. And, it is what it is. But I do hope it's over because, yeah, man, I just don't think Sony needs this bullshit. I know they don't need it because it's like there's stuff that was put in Spider-Man 2 that just felt like it would just be a better game without it. Like you don't even have to replace it with anything. Just literally cut it and you got a better game. And I just hope that Sony can get going forward, right? Like I don't know if they still have multiple projects that were greenlit in 2020, 2021, so on and so forth that still have to come out. But going forward for the remainder of the generation going into the PlayStation 6, unknown, I'm not going into it again. I've had multiple streams talking about it. I'm not trying to turn this entire stream into like a anti-woke stream. I've been down this road. I just hope it's over because I just think that I don't know, man. I think that I do know. I think we've seen these games that have been negatively influenced. Like they've been influenced by, or I guess you could say positively influenced because that's why they did it. We've seen those games impacted by it, and then we've seen the end result. How does the community feel about it? How does the market respond to it? Did a side mission with two men dating really hurt the overall quality of the game? No, I wasn't actually really referring to that, but no, I don't think that hurt the quality of the game. I think that's something like that. I think is just definitely going to get some people angry, but it depends on your perspective. Like, if you're the type of person like, they put this in here to make me angry, like, yeah, they probably did, because like, that's the bait. You fell for the bait, you know? At the end of the day, is that like the make or break? It's like, listen, if we don't take this out, it's going to cook this game. No. But all I can say is that if they were like, "Hey, we removed this mission. We just cut it." I say, "Well, what was it? Was it something really good? Was it something really exciting?" Like, "No, you hooked two guys up to go to prom together." Like, "Oh, okay. All right, well, that's fine. No complaints from me." You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's my honest to God reaction. Like, okay, I don't think that would have enhanced my gameplay experience. If it was something like, oh, we cut this side mission where you got to, like, track down this guy who's been committing these, like, low key crimes and like ruining people's lives, and you got to figure out who's doing it and why, or something like that. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, that I don't know if you should cut that. That sounds interesting. If it was two chicks, keep it. No, I mean, to be honest though, that's just as like, to me, it's the exact same. It's two dudes, two women, a guy and a woman. To me, it's whatever, man. But the whole point is, we've seen what has happened to some of these games. Two furries. Now that, keep it. Because I just want to see the world burn at that point. The point is, we've seen these games, these big AAA games with massive budgets that have been influenced by companies like Sweet Baby Inc. We've seen the end result. And I think it's just clear that, the result was not good. A lot of people are not on board with the type of messaging they're trying to get across and the type of influence that this company is having over, I would say, these big games that are just, like, supposed to be focused on other things. They're supposed to be focused on other things that are not, not necessarily aligned with certain companies that were literally created based off of political activism. So, saying, and yet Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2 did just fine. Well, I would make the argument, ahoy Tyler, I think Ragnarok did fine, yeah. Because Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in Ragnarok. It's, to what extent, though, it's hard to say. It seems like they had a much less of a influence, potentially, over Ragnarok than they did Spider-Man 2. Because Spider-Man 2 was the one that really seemed to kind of start rubbing people the wrong way. And from what we heard, I don't know. Again, it's all hearsay, but from what we heard, apparently they seemingly had more like, Insomniac seemed more receptive to maybe some of the feedback they were getting from Sweet Baby Inc. And I'll be honest, man, I think it did hurt sales of the games of at least Spider-Man 2, not Ragnarok. I think it hurt the sales of Spider-Man 2, not up front, but I noticed that the situation with Spider-Man 2 got caught up in the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff like a month or two after launch. It came a little bit later, and I think that it maybe hurt the longer tail sales of Spider-Man 2. At the very least, it created some negative publicity. If it didn't hurt the sales of the games, it created a lot of negative publicity and a negative image. And I think that if you're Sony, it's just like, maybe just don't go in that direction, because is it necessary? The answer is no. If it's creating a negative conversation and, like, creating a negative aura around one of your most important games, one of your most important products. Like, why continue? And that's the things, like, they're funding it too. Like, they're paying this company, and it's like, why would you pay a company to basically insert stuff potentially that's just gonna anger people or cause a negative reaction? The only thing you have to do is not pay them and not do it. You don't even again, you don't have to replace this stuff. Just don't even just push it aside. Just push it aside. And I don't know, maybe my analysis on the sales of the game is wrong. Maybe the game ultimately did sell fine, but I don't know, man. Maybe it wasn't Spider-Man 2, right? Maybe it was Concord, because that's another game that I mean, again, dude, like, I'm not trying to rehash this, but for God's sake, they're showing me a robot with pronouns, and it's like, I don't know what we're doing here. I mean, there were a lot of problems. Like, I don't think Concord failed just because it was woke, but I think that helped it speed run. Its speed run to failure, I think, was it accelerated it. It gave it a lot more momentum, you know. But yeah, we'll see, man. Woke stuff will draw the eye of Sauron YouTubers. That's a good way of putting it. I never thought about it like that. My hat identifies as a do-rag. Exactly. Hand in hand. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude. Everything is shifted now, though. I mean, if you look, there's a whole new administration um, for the U.S., President Trump, all Republican, all right-leaning. And one of the biggest things that he's doing is trying to reverse so much of this stuff. And I think a lot of these companies are just going to fall in line. Whether you think that's the right thing to do or not, that's your opinion. That's everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I think that from a more objective standpoint, a more analytical standpoint, I just think it's clear that these companies I think they got the memo, that, like, yeah, we're done with this now. Because if they didn't, they're probably they're going to be at much greater risk, I think, of, like, getting hurt going forward compared to 2 or 3 years ago. But we'll see. In conclusion, Wolverine will probably not be woke. Okay? Anybody who is concerned about Wokerine, rest easy. It's not happening. He ain't going to have those rainbow claws. So, hype. We can be hyped. It's like they show it. It's like the most woke version of Wolverine we've ever seen. I don't even know woke, but just he's like some kind of pansy. GTA 6 woke or nah? No, I don't think GTA 6. No. I think GTA 6 is likely to make fun of everything. I just think there might be some stuff they try to avoid, which people might point out. We did hear reports that, like, it's not that they're going to defend anything, but they might be a little bit more picky and choosy, which could be bad because it would create a bad look of, like, well, GTA is known to punch in every direction. Like, nobody's safe. And it's kind of like, okay, at least, like, it's better if everybody can be offended at the same time. Like, we're here to offend everybody. It's if they start picking out certain groups or whatever that they want to try to offend versus others they don't. Like, I mean, one of the bigger questions, and listen, there's no denying that if you're excited for GTA 6, you got to know that this is going to be part of it. Like, they're going to be making fun of a lot of the political stuff that has happened in the last, decade. And I mean, maybe they won't, which would be shocking if they just totally avoided that. But 99% chance that's going to be a big part of it. And that's where things could get really messy really quickly, where it's like, if you're doing that, you got to make fun of both. You can't make fun of the right and protect the left. You can't make fun of the left and protect the right. You gotta go after them all, because if you choose one or the other, I mean, that's when I think people are going to be like, bro, that's not my GTA, like hashtag not my GTA. And that's what GTA does best. It's kind of like South Park, right? Like, yeah, just go after everybody. And what's likely to be the end result is everybody's laughing. Ironically enough, everybody will likely be laughing. Either that or everybody will be hurt, but it's the great unifier. But getting back to Wolverine, I'm still extremely excited for Wolverine, man. And I've been waiting patiently to see this game. When will Sony come out and show this game? Well, like I said, Insomniac, they're letting us know they're still working on it, but they don't have the green light. And one of the more interesting things that Insomniac said here is they want to show it when they're ready to show it, but they also said that they don't necessarily have the green light either. So I'm thinking that we are going to maybe get a showing of Wolverine this summer. It could be as soon as May if Sony does like a showcase in May, like they did in 2023. But I think Sony might end up doing a showcase this year, and Wolverine would absolutely have to be there. And I'm stoked. I can't wait to see it. GTV, thank you for the $2 donation, buddy. I also have Ala or Ayla, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, a member for 11 months saying, I can pre-order the Switch 2 in my country without a problem. It has been available all day with no interest from anyone here. What country are you in? That's interesting. That's anecdotal evidence here, but yeah, you have to let me know what country you're in. Paul, you're saying they got the memo. It's about time. Yeah, let me see if there's anything else here. Oh, hold on. There's a important follow up to the Sweet Baby Ink thing that I forgot to mention. Now, this I'm really curious to see what you guys think of this because I'm not sure what to make of it. All right. It says here that according to Gothic Therapy Insider, one of the projects canceled underneath Sony may have been a follow up to God of War Ragnarok. The source couldn't confirm whether it was a DLC, a spin off, or a full sequel focused on Atreus/Loki, only that it had Sweet Baby Ink attached to it and that Sony may have pulled the plug. This is significant not only because of the franchise's importance to Sony, but because Sweet Baby Inc. had already publicly acknowledged involvement in Ragnarok. So they say here, hold on. This is significant not only because of the franchise is important to Sony. Yeah, so that one I'm a little bit that's a little bit questionable because we've had multiple things circulating about God of War, right? We're hearing is yeah, I mean that sounds like it. This is where I'm a little bit nervous where it's like I don't want to this might not be true. Like this whole thing about Sony severing ties with Sweet Baby Inc. might not be true. Like they very well could still be working with them. But the whole idea of like there was a God of War project that was canceled. Well, we do know a God of War project got canceled. And it was Blue Point's game. It was a live service God of War game. Now, what's interesting is that God like hold on, I'm trying to remember God of War live service. So, guys, I have a question for you just to make sure I'm not misremembering. Did Sony ever publicly confirm or officially, not publicly, did Sony ever officially confirm that they canceled a God of War live service? Was this ever officially confirmed? I Johnny Gaming, you're saying yes. Because all I'm seeing, uh, is it's all going back to the same source, which is Bloomberg. GTV are saying, will the Wolverine game lead into the X-Men game? I believe so. Yeah. If we look at the leaked roadmap, that seems to be where where it's headed. So here's what's weird, in my opinion. Jason Schreier is obviously one of the best sources out there. He said it was a live service God of War game. And you know what's funny is that, like, the internet's reaction to that news was like a collective, what the F? Like, what? Because it didn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, God of War, live service, Blue Point Games. Something. Look, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a moment. All right. It's been a while since I put the tinfoil hat on. And I don't really do it that often anymore. But this has kind of got my brain going a little bit where I'm like, come to think of it, nobody ever officially acknowledged in any official capacity that there was ever a live service God of War game in development. This came, and I'm not doubting Jason Schreier's reporting. He's likely, to be clear, he's likely 100% correct. But what if there's a chance, like just a chance? So you're saying there's a chance. What if there's a chance that Bluepoint was working on a God of War project, but it wasn't actually live service? What if it was some type of single player standalone thing? What if it was the Atreus game? Everybody thought for the longest time, I mean, this was for years, that Bluepoint Games is maybe working on it. If not Santa Monica Studio, then Bluepoint's working on like a standalone God of War game starring Atreus. Now, this rumor from a much less credible source, to be clear, I'm not even, I know it seems like I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm highlighting that, 1% chance this source is correct. But just what if the chances are that Bluepoint was actually never working on a live service game? Because it's still mind-blowing to think, like, why would they be working on a live service game? And instead, they were working on this kind of standalone God of War thing, and they just never, it was going to be a single-player thing, and I don't know. I'm just trying to connect the dots here. That's all. I'm just trying to connect the dots because something's not adding up. Something's not adding up where it doesn't make any sense for Bluepoint to have been working on a live service game. It doesn't make any sense for that live service game to be a God of War game. It makes complete sense for there to be a standalone Atreus game. It also maybe makes sense that if there was a standalone Atreus game, it gets canceled. Maybe that's not what people wanted. Maybe, yeah, dude, maybe, I don't know. We need more information. I want to know. Something's peculiar about this whole thing. And I would just like to know more. I would like to know if there was a shift inside of Sony where they're like, yeah, we're done with this bullshit. I would like to know if maybe some of the information we're getting about, because it's still impossible to imagine Bluepoint Games working on a live service God of War. It's very possible to imagine them working on a God of War because they were a support team for God of War Ragnarok. So maybe we'll get more information in the future. But as of right now, we don't have anything necessarily official. We got to be careful, though. We do have to be careful because there is a very high likelihood, and I want to end it on this note before we talk about Marathon. We do want to keep in mind that the people who are paying attention to this, because a lot of people who are covering this news about Sweet Baby Inc. and Sony, they're clearly not paying that much attention to Sony. That's what we do. We pay attention to Sony. It's literally what I do here. I think some of the outlets reporting on this or some of the people reporting on this might be confusing the fact that there is an explanation for why so many games got canceled. And I assure you, many of those games that got canceled were not because of Sweet Baby Inc. At least it seems unlikely. Most of those games that got canceled, if not all of them, were because they were live service games that were not coming together. However, you do have to consider Sony did keeple. I said keeple. They keepled. They kept. Why did I say that word? Where does it even come from? That's not even a real word. I'm stroking out live on camera. Let's try this again. Sony decided to keep a handful of live service games and not cancel them. And our assumption, my assumption, was that, well, it's because these are the games that look the most promising and have the most potential. And that's, again, 99% chance that that's what it was. But you also do have to consider, like, what if the timing of this all happened at once, where it's like, so which live service studios are working with Sweet Baby Inc.? Sony Ben's working with them. Blue Point's working with them. You know, it's like, okay, cancel their games. I mean, that's unrealistic. It's unrealistic that they would. That would be extreme. I mean, that would be the most extreme. Like, holy shit, Sony just came in and cleaned house because of one company. It doesn't make much logical sense. Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. And then you look at something like Fair Games, and it's like, you know, keepled, retaining something with fervor. Huh. Anyway, tinfoil hat off. You know, I who knows? We need more information, and we need to keep in mind that these are just rumors. And GTV are saying we had a God of War multiplayer game before, so it's not too crazy. That's true, but I guess the big difference is that when you look at the multiplayer experience in God of War Ascension, it was just an add-on experience. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, just those classic, here's the extra multiplayer mode for some replayability, and that's fine. You know, very different in my opinion from the idea of like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a full-blown live service God of War game that's supported for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Very, very different. Fair Games is put into the freezer for now, though. Yeah, like, I don't want to get too deep. I know that I've been talking about it for like an hour and a half, or not an hour and a half, but like an hour or so. I don't want to keep going on and on about the whole, you know, woke stuff and the culture wars and the political agendas and whatnot. But considering how much we covered this last year and talked about Sweet Baby Inc. and talked about everything that was going on with Spider-Man 2, and you know, especially with Wolverine up next, I thought it absolutely was worth at least covering this and talking about it somewhat, because I do hope it's true. I do hope it's true. I just feel like Sony needs to move on from this. Digital Dude 25 with the $10 chat says that leaked concept literally showed us it was an Atreus game. He was in Egypt. They were hinting at it during the Atreus sections of the game. That's why he had all those metal spheres. That's what I was thinking about that too, Digital Dude. You're talking about the leaked concept art, right? Yeah, I was like, that doesn't look like concept art of a live service game. I mean, there were two people standing there, so it's like maybe it could have been co-op, but it did look like, you know, we were looking at it together and we were like, that looks like it could be older Atreus. And yeah, it looked like he was in Egypt. It looked weird. And we still weren't even sure if it was God. Like, we suspected, and this is what's interesting, based off of that concept art, we suspected it was God of War related, but we had no idea. It could have been a new IP. And I think that's what I kept leaning towards. Like I'm saying, I think it's a new game. I think it's a new IP. But yeah, man, it is possible. It is possible. Look, it may be a slim possibility, but it is possible that Sony was making a standalone Atreus game and maybe Sweet Baby Inc. was involved. And, you know, the big shift happened, the big change occurred, and, you know, Sony got a bunch of blowback for Concord. Spider-Man 2 was caught up in Sweet Baby Ink controversy, and Sony was like, axe it, F this. We're not taking that risk. Because if you think about it, if they did take that risk and it didn't work out very well, um, yeah, I feel like people would have been, it would have hurt the God of War brand to an extent, maybe not severely, but somewhat. Now, what's interesting is where we stand now is we have the polar opposite of that. Where we stand now is we're hearing that we're going to be getting some kind of we're going to be getting some kind of young Kratos back in Greece story, like side story. And I'm like, well, this is the polar opposite. Now, granted, this isn't something that they just whipped up overnight. It's something they've been working on for a while. But it's just really, really interesting to me that, like, you know, it feels like we're just going from like one end to the other. It's like, oh, we're going to be getting a standalone Atreus story. Actually, no, you're going to be playing as young Kratos again. It's like, oh, didn't see that one coming. And Digital Dude 25 with a $5 chat says, you don't put that much time into making Atreus a playable character in Ragnarok if you don't intend to have him star in his own game. I agree with that. Yeah, when you play Ragnarok, slight spoilers, but I think everybody here played it. When you play Ragnarok, you realize, wow, there's a lot of playable sections with Atreus, and he feels pretty good to play as. I don't think he feels nearly as good to play as Kratos, obviously, but, he still feels pretty refined. And you do get this kind of sense of, like, especially when you beat Ragnarok, I don't want to go too deep in the spoilers, but, like, ending spoilers for Ragnarok if you haven't beaten it. At the very end of that game, Atreus makes it clear, like, I'm going on my own journey with Angerboda. And Kratos is like, all right, I trust you. Yeah, I mean, all signs point to that. Now, I guess the question would have to be, like, was the original intention to kind of pass the torch maybe to Atreus, but maybe they're backing off of that now? Or maybe they didn't know. Maybe they just wanted to leave it that way. Like, they could go in multiple directions. Because I gotta say, man, the most surprising thing to me is finding out, apparently, that actually the next God of War thing you're playing is going back and playing as young Kratos. Now, look, maybe Atreus will be part of it, and we just don't know. Maybe he will be involved. People were talking about the idea of, like, time traveling and shit, and I'm like, okay, that would be kind of wild. It makes me a little nervous, Could get really messy, but yeah, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying here, Digital Dude. I mean, a lot of time and effort went into making Atreus a fully playable character. But you know what? It also kind of makes me think of Spider-Man 2. Again, slight spoilers for Spider-Man 2, but when you get to that section where you play as Venom, and I'm like, man, this feels amazing. Like, how much time did they take to make Venom feel like a fully fleshed out playable character, but for a very short period of the game? And it naturally kind of left you with this feeling of like, oh, they're going to be doing more with this, aren't they? Saying they literally did, with another $10 chat, Digital Dude 25, he says they literally did the same thing with Venom and Spider-Man 2. Oh, we're literally thinking about the same thing, bro. Look at how much detail they put into his combat in Spider-Man 2. Now, if we don't get a Venom game, I'm going to be upset, LOL. Same here, bro. You see, that's one of the things that made me sad about the conversation around Spider-Man 2 on the internet, is that so many people were focused on, Sweet Baby Ink and whatnot. But I'm like, bro, I get it, but did you play that Venom section? Like, that Venom section was amazing. I mean, I'll never forget when I was playing that and just suddenly I'm taking control and I run up to a dude and I like snap the guy in half and like throw him away. I'm like, yo, I don't want to play as Spider-Man again. I don't want to play as Miles Morales. I want to play as Venom. I really hope that Venom game is going to come to fruition. It would be very disappointing if it didn't. I mean, what gives me hope about it is not people, but Insomniac, the hack that we talked about earlier, on their timeline, it said Venom 2025. So when they made that timeline, they were hoping to have Venom, we're assuming it's a Miles Morales-esque size game ready to go by 2025. Now we're 4 months into 2025, we haven't heard anything about Venom. But there was another another file in that leak or that hack. Now, keep in mind, it's like over, I think, like a terabyte of data. There was one, I think, slide that also had Venom targeting 2027. So it could have been that originally they were hoping they could maybe get this game out by 2025, but they realized that's just not going to happen, and they decided they want to put it, make it a 2027 game. I'm just throwing that out there where that came from the Insomniac hack. There was Venom with 2 dates, 2025, 2027. So the fact that we haven't heard about it yet, I don't think confirms that it's not happening or that it's not real. I think it just might mean that, you know, it's going to take a little bit longer than they thought, and it'll end up being a 2027 game. I mean, think about it. If we're getting Death Stranding 2 this year, Ghost of Yote, Marathon, and then also a side project God of War game where you play as young Kratos, having Venom come out next year, or next year's 2026. Saving Venom for another time, I guess, is what I mean to say, probably makes more sense. But yeah, it would be a shame if there's no Venom game, because that playable section in Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, is the best part of the whole game. I mean, that was like the big wow moment for me. Overexposure, member for 7 months. And Digital Dude, thank you for the super chats, buddy. Overexposure says PlayStation has had its downfalls, but they always deliver with the level of quality with their single-player games. People are way too harsh on Sony. I agree, Overexposure. I do think that even the stuff that I've been talking about when it comes to like the sweet babying stuff that I'm criticizing, to be clear, I loved Ragnarok. To be clear, I thoroughly enjoyed Spider-Man 2. Are there certain aspects of like Spider-Man 2 that I'm like, I feel like certain aspects could have been better? Yeah. And that's because it would be totally disingenuous and frankly unrealistic, and just, I think, even a bit nonsensical for me to sit here and pretend that every single game I play from PlayStation Studios is a 10 out of 10 perfect, no criticism whatsoever. No, I'm not sure that anybody realistically could feel that way about that many different games. We all are going to find certain flaws and faults, and I think it's okay to point them out as long as you're being fair about it, and not over the top, because the whole idea of pointing out certain flaws is to hopefully see them improve. But Overexposure, generally speaking, what you're saying here, totally agree, man. I think people are, let's just face it, man. There is a group of people that just want to trash PlayStation. No matter, like, they hate PlayStation. They hate PlayStation. They hate PlayStation fans or enthusiasts, people who really like PlayStation. They can't stand it. And they basically just want to trash it. And unfortunately, that group of people has become more vocal than ever before. And I just try these days to, as best I can, completely tune that out. Because, yeah, dude, it's like, I don't give a shit what you have to say about PlayStation. I'm over here eating good. Period. End of discussion. Like, you could, people can sit there and type their complaints and be like, oh, Sony's got no games, or I can't stand PlayStation. Like, get it. Like, me saying that I'm eating good and enjoying PlayStation that doesn't equal me turning to Sony and say, Sony, you don't got to do nothing, bro. You're perfect. You don't got to do nothing. No, they're two separate things. I'm sitting here eating good, enjoying PlayStation, enjoying everything that's on offer. Even Microsoft's starting to feed me now too, bro. It's crazy out here. It's that's not me looking at Sony and saying, I don't want more. No, if anything, it's the opposite. It's like, keep the shit up, Sony. Like, keep going. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you to get better, even better than I think you are now. Because I win in that, as a fan, as a consumer, like, I win if you guys do better, because I'm enjoying what you're doing. And it's annoying, dude. I'll be honest. It is. It's not even just annoying. It's just sad to see so many people just jumping on this bandwagon of like, everything Sony does is, whoa, like, okay, of course. Digital Dude 25, you're saying here, same with Ellie in The Last of Us. In the leaked Wolverine stuff, you have multiple playable characters besides Wolverine. I wonder what other X-Men property Insomniac is working on. Dude, apparently Insomniac wants to make 2 X-Men games by the year 2032, according to their roadmap. And Digital Dude, you also see here, it's a pattern they have. Well, yeah, the roadmap, from what I remember, I think it's Wolverine, Venom, Spider-Man 3. Well, you know what? Hold on. I can actually just bring it up. I don't even know. Let me make sure I got this in the right order. Okay, so there's Spider-Man 2, Venom, Wolverine, Spider-Man 3, Ratchet and Clank in 2029, and then X-Men in 2030, and then in 2031 and 2032, new IP. Bro, holy shit. That's the PS6 right there, bro. No, that's too empty. They can't do that. If the PS6 comes out in 2028, they want to have Spider-Man 3 ready, holiday 2028, and then the next year they want to have Ratchet and Clank, and then the next year they want to have X-Men, and then the next year they want to try to have a new IP. Bro, I believe in Insomniac, but that's nuts. That's nuts, man. I do think, yeah, the leaks we've seen of Wolverine, it seems like there are going to be some other characters, and I don't want to like spoil things too much. Wolverine spoiler, okay? Just a slight Wolverine spoiler from the hack, but I think you guys already know about it. There are apparently going to be some playable sections as Jean. And there were people complaining about this, and they were like, oh my God, they're doing the same thing they did with Mary Jane. It's like, bro, calm down. Look at the gameplay. It actually looks pretty cool. She's a mutant with powers. I understand the criticism that people had with Mary Jane, where it was like, you're just using a gun, basically. And I get it. It's a bit unexciting. You know, it's underwhelming. To me, this is different. You know, being able to play as Jean Grey is actually pretty cool, I would think. As long as and from what I can tell, it looks like they're giving her some pretty sick abilities, you know? Hanzo, I mean, you would hope not. One of the most powerful characters in Marvel Comics. Yeah, dude. I'm curious to see what Insomniac's up to, because the thing is, it's it's been a while. It's been a while since we've since we've heard from Insomniac, and that tells me that they've been cooking. They've been cooking, man. Johnny Gaming, damn, bro. I did see people talking about the idea of Hulk appearing in Wolverine. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be amazing. I mean, in the original teaser trailer that came out in 2021, they did kind of tease it. And if you watched Deadpool and Wolverine, they did the same thing. They teased Hulk and Wolverine. Would be cool if they pulled that. That would be sick if they pulled that off. But it's one of those things where it's like, if that's the big surprise moment that Insomniac gets into the Wolverine game, I would be thoroughly impressed and surprised. But I don't know, man. It seems a bit. It seems like it's too far of a leap. I think that would be peak. Yeah, it would. It absolutely would, dude. Figuratively literal, you're saying PlayStation Studios is very consistent, which is one thing they have in common with Nintendo. In many ways, their haters are a testament to their success. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody is out here saying that PlayStation Studios never misses. I mean, we have seen that, right? But I think what you're speaking to here, the consistency factor, they've been consistently good slash great for many, many years. And I mean, I've been seeing some wild takes these days, man. Like I've been seeing people out here basically uh dumping on games like The Last of Us 1. Like The Last of Us 2, you always expect there to be some kind of controversy. But I've even seen people out here trying to basically make it sound like The Last of Us 1 sucks. I'm like, what? What are you fucking talking about? Like it's like people are just they're trying to see how far they can take it. Where it's like, what if we just make stuff up? You know? What if we just say things and see if it catches on? And unfortunately, the internet's so stupid these days. A lot of people on the internet are so stupid these days that they're just like, yeah, The Last of Us sucks. Like, okay, whatever you say, bro. But in my opinion, and I think the opinion of a lot of other people, I think the market kind of speaks for itself. Yeah, PlayStation has had a level of consistency with their output and the quality of that output that I don't want to, I don't want to use some kind of over the top terminology and be like, it's unmatched, it's unrivaled. Some people see it that way. I just see it as it's just extremely good. I'm not saying everybody has to love it. I'm not saying, you know, it needs to take over and everybody's got to be on board. No, but I'm just saying for like if you're somebody who likes single player games, and you like any level of cinematics at all in games, which I think if you like single player games, you probably do. I think they got a good thing going, dude. I'm actually, speaking of single player games, I'm really excited for Days Gone Remastered, dude, because I mean, obviously I'm excited to play it again. I'm excited to see new people playing it and people giving it a chance, and realizing like this game was really good. Digital Dude 25 with another chat says, didn't the leak also reveal that they are using special PS5 Pro technology to make him heal in real time? Or am I tripping? There was something like that, Digital Dude. Let me see. See what I can find. Here we go. Wolverine will feature machine learning upscaling, possibly hinting at the PS5 Pro. So what's interesting is this was before the reveal of the PS5 Pro. I don't know. Okay, I think this is separate though. I know what you're talking about, Digital Dude. I remember coming across something like that. Yeah, here we go. Healing factor, real-time damage and regeneration, destruction 2.0. Uh, I don't know how to say this word. Hierarchical? Hierarchy? Harry? I don't know how to say this word. So I'm not even going to bother saying it. Film quality, facial animation, muscle, and cloth simulation. I can't speak. Yeah, real-time damage and regeneration, real-time global illumination, dynamic weather and foliage, 60 FPS base frame rate, performance ray tracing, photogrammetry pipeline, AI upscaling through machine learning, fluid dynamics to be determined will be investigated, deformable surfaces, snow and mud, motion matching, improved locomotion. I mean, this is like some really this is in the weeds, bro. This is in the weeds. You could tell like this is the stuff they're planning on doing. It's interesting to get a glimpse into Insomniac's development pipeline like this. I mean, we went over it when it came out, like when the big leak came out, but let me close a couple of these tabs real quick. Snow sections. Well, yeah, dude. I mean, there's going to be a lot, I think, on offer in Wolverine. But one of the things that I also want to mention, since we're talking about Wolverine, and I just realized I have my Wolverine shirt on today. One of the things that I want to mention as well is that people were wondering, like, is this game going to be violent? Is it going to be, rated M for mature? Is it going to have blood? Are you going to be able to dismember? because that's a big thing with Wolverine, and there are gameplay snippets out there that do confirm, at the very least, yeah, you're going to be dismembering people, bro. So I think the footage was early, so I don't think that like the blood splatter and stuff like that was programmed in yet. But we have a direct donation from Perfect Image. Thank you, Perfect Image. He says, it sucks that majority is more important than minority. When minority, when the majority are going to care about consoles, 900 when games are $100, when's it going to stop? Hanzo, I think Sabretooth is going to be in the game. Yeah. So, Perfect Image, are you saying are you basically asking the question like how are the majority of people going to care about consoles if consoles end up being $900 and games end up being 100? Am I understanding you correctly, Perfect Image? Yeah. Okay. Um I mean that's the thing. I don't I wish I had an answer for that question. But what I can say, Perfect Image, is that what you just asked right there is what's going to make going into 2027 and 2028 so interesting. I know we're years away from that, but 2027 is going to be here and 2028 is going to be here, and Sony's going to have to roll out the PlayStation 6. And when they do, the way Sony has done it every generation is they want at least 100 million people, hopefully more than 100 million people. They want 110, 120, 130, however many they can get, but they want to at least get 100 million. They're going to have to try to position the PlayStation 6 to be a console that can go on to sell another 100 million. And what you're asking about the price of consoles going up, potentially the price of hardware going up, and even games, can that happen? Well, that's what's going to make it so interesting. I don't know. I don't know if Sony has the answer to that. I mean, all we can look at is the success of the PS5, right? Sony, I don't think people kind of understand like how much Sony had going against their own success this generation. Yes, there was an immense amount of hype for the PS5. People were feeling high off the PS4, so there was momentum. There's no denying there was momentum, and that momentum greatly helped them. But people, I think, also downplay the fact that, bro, there was a pandemic that made it so that you couldn't buy a PS5. Now, maybe you could argue that not being able to buy a PS5 made it much more desirable, right? But I think Sony will have, you know what? Let me simplify my answer. Perfect Image. You're saying the majority matter more than the minority. That is true, but we have to consider something. If the minority is willing to pay more, a lot more, and that is great for Sony's bottom line and leading to growth. Do you think that's still applicable? Because you're right, the minority are, less important in terms of wanting to have a more a broader reach. But if that's all Sony cared about, if that's what PlayStation cared about, they would be all in on mobile gaming right now, because that's the broadest audience you can get to, right? Um, they're trying to do both at the same time. Gaming Survivor says, "Drop the price, drop the price." Is Nintendo's chat still going crazy? I think what Sony's gonna do, Perfect Image. This is my guess. I think the PlayStation 6 will be expensive. I think the PlayStation 6 is going to be a tougher sell than the PS5 was, and certainly the PS4. And I think what Sony's going to have to do is pull a Don Matrick Xbox 360 situation where they're going to have to make it clear that like the PS5 is still a priority just as much as the PS6 is. And support for the PS5 is not stopping anytime soon. And essentially, you ready for this? I said this before, but for the sake of your question, I'll repeat it. The PS5 is going to become what the Series S is to the Series X. The PS5 is going to be the PS6S, essentially. And I think that's going to be a necessary thing for Sony to do, because at the rate things are going, the PS6 is not going to come in at $500. It would be a miracle if the PS6 comes in at $600. Chances are it's going to be more than that. And I'll tell you right now, coming out with a next generation console that's going to be priced potentially more than $600, potentially, or even at $600, even if it is $600, chances of that console reaching 100 million sold diminish quite dramatically. So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if you end up seeing Sony, go all in with the marketing of the PS6, but basically make it so that we're just going to continue to count the PS5 as we're not moving on from the PS5. Like, we are, but we're not. I just think the PS5 is going to end up being the PS6S. And I don't think that's the way Sony wants to do it. I just think they're going to have no choice. And so that the PS5 will be the more affordable model. Hey, you can't afford a PlayStation 6. It's too expensive. It's $700 or more dollars. You don't think that, you think the PS6 games are not worth it or too expensive or whatever. Almost everything's going to be cross-gen for many years when the PS6 comes out. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Sony's going to literally do what Don Matrick did and turn to you and say, just buy a PS5, or like, we have a console for those customers. I don't think they're going to do that. David, you're saying that doesn't make sense. Well, why don't you think that makes sense, though? I think it makes perfect sense. Because think of the alternative. Well, I mean, what is the alternative? The alternative is Sony says, okay, we're going to move on from the PS5 as rapidly as possible, and we want to move people from the PS5 to the PS6 in the same way that we moved them from PS4 to 5. We want to do the same thing. We're going to have to do true exclusives again. Again, that they're not going to do that. At least I don't think they are. If they could listen, if Sony could come out and launch the PS6 at $500, they could get hyper aggressive. But that's not going to happen, man. Gaming Survivor, it depends on who. No, man. I feel you. Having the carb crash, I feel you. You got to maintain control, maintain composure. You don't think Sony should be wasting resources on disk drives anymore, but keep the $80 optional disk drive upgrade? Oh, I have no doubt that the PS6 at this point will be, the disk drive, or even a separate thing you buy that connects to it. Because by the time the PS6 comes out, it's clear. Most people are going to be playing digital. I mean, most people already are, but even more people will be. A lot of people play a generation behind. I don't know the numbers, but it's a sizable chunk. Well, it's just hard not to have these next gen conversations because they're interesting. I mean, they're interesting to me because it's very different than, So when's it going to stop? I don't think it's going to stop, man. The Jaguar cores are working overtime. Yeah. The way I think it's going to work is Sony's going to have to thread a very specific marketing needle. That's like a term I keep using, threading the needle, but they are. They're going to have to thread a marketing needle where it's like they're going to have to build interest, excitement, and desire, FOMO, for the PS6 while simultaneously making it known that if you decide to stay on PS5, you're still going to be treated well. I mean, I think people need to understand that they kind of did this already with the PS4 and PS5. If you think the PS5 gen is good, then or just even okay, it's relatively successful generation. I mean, you know, think about Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, Sony turned to all PS4 owners and said, "Don't worry, you're getting this game too." God of War Ragnarok, don't worry, you're getting that game. GT7, don't worry, you're getting that game. It didn't necessarily stop people from upgrading. Most people were buying those games on PS5. Most people wanted the PS5. They wanted the PS5 versions. But Sony did make it clear that we're still releasing it on PS4. And if you think about it, they're sending you a message when they do that. And that message is you don't have to upgrade if you're interested in this game. Now, eventually that stopped in like 2023, and especially now. But, you know, I could see them doing something similar, but make it even more abundantly clear that, like, yes, Spider-Man 3 is coming to PS5. Last of Us Part 3 is coming to PS5. GT8 is coming to PS5. And I think that this time around, a lot more people might say, well, all right, I think I'll just stick with my PS5 then. But it's easy for me to say that right now because I have no idea what the PS6 is going to be. I have no idea what features it's going to have, what games are going to look like on it. It's easy for me to downplay the insane hype that may end up revealing itself by the time we get to the marketing cycle of the PlayStation 6. So these discs are not a key. Yeah, they're going to do another PS4-esque video. I've been seeing people feeling really depressed about Nintendo and what they're doing with physical games, dude. And I'm shocked. I am, because most people thought, understandably so, that Nintendo was going to be the one. Nintendo was going to be the one to, continue to push for that proper physical support during a time when everybody else isn't. And it was the opposite. Like they became the villain, like suddenly, where they're like, actually, we're going to usher in the digital age even quicker now, where a lot of third-party games, apparently, like the games are not going to be on the cartridge. The cartridge acts as a key. Yeah, like so like Elden Ring. If you buy Elden Ring for the Switch 2, you put it inside your Switch 2. You have to download Elden Ring from the internet. There's no data on that cartridge. And it's not locked. Like you could give it to a friend. And if that friend puts that Elden Ring Switch 2 cartridge in their Switch 2, they then download it and can play it. And you need the cartridge in order to play it. But it's just kind of weird because it's like it is physical, but kind of not at the same time. It's really weird. Like if you don't have a connection to the internet, it seems like, and you can't download the game, it just, I don't know. It does make me wonder if we're going to start seeing this in the future with like physical PlayStation games. If Sony's going to do the same thing, or publishers are going to do the same thing. I mean, I think people complain it. If I'm not mistaken, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, you could buy a physical version. You get the case, you get the disc, but there's literally no data on the disc. Like you have to download the entire game from the internet. So it's already beginning. The transition is happening. I just think people are quite surprised to see that Nintendo is kind of leading that charge in a way. Lots of third-party games will be a key, though, for Nintendo, but Cyberpunk fits on the 64 gigabyte Cyberpunk isn't going to be a key? I would think if any game was going to be, it was going to be that. Well, guys, we do need to talk about Marathon. I said that Sony's planning a reveal next week. Yeah, Marathon. There is going to be seemingly a significant gameplay reveal, a full reveal, if you will, of Bungie's Marathon. And this is going to be Sony's most expensive game reveal in their history. Isn't that kind of crazy? I didn't hear the soundtracks yet. I'll have to go listen to them when I'm done streaming here. I think GTA 6 is going to kill it. Well, very different games. But it's interesting to think that this reveal of Marathon, when I say it's going to be the most expensive reveal ever for Sony, it's because, dude, Sony paid $3.6 billion for Bungie, and this is the first new game we're getting from them. It's been, what, like 3 years? 4 years since they were purchased? No, 3 years, I think. And so I imagine Sony's feeling pretty nervous. I imagine Bungie's feeling pretty nervous. They should feel nervous because, I mean, the pressure's high, man. Bungie needs to deliver. I think Marathon has a lot of potential. I do. You think it's going to flop, Broccoli Rob? It could flop, but I think it has a lot of potential simply because it's Bungie, dude. Like, they are experienced. They know what they're doing. They know how to make a good feeling game to play. They know they're very good at shooters, but is it going to find that level of success that Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 found? Now that's the real question. And I'm not sure. Yeah, Marathon is not PvE, it's an extraction shooter unless something changed. And that's tough. That's going to be a tough sell because the extraction shooter genre did not blow up the way that people thought it would. When Bungie decided to return to Marathon and make an extraction shooter, they did so at the time when everybody thought that the extraction shooter genre was going to be the next battle royale. And it found success, and there are games like Escape from Tarkov that have their audiences and have found their success, but the extraction shooter genre is nowhere near the battle royale in terms of overall popularity and uptake. So Bungie maybe has an opportunity to be the first ones to, outside of Escape from Tarkov, to really bring more attention to it. But it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. So I do think that they have some things working against them. You think Marathon's going to be Concord 2.0? No, I hope not. God, man, that would be the worst outcome. That would be the worst outcome. I think Marathon. You're saying extraction shooters are usually PvPvE. PvPvE. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Let me. Okay, hold on. We do have confirmation. Correct. You're good call on this. Marathon will feature both PvE and PvP elements. So good call. I actually didn't know that. I thought it was pure PvP, but it's going to have both. So, okay, that's pretty significant. That I would say that could make a huge difference maybe. And Corey the Legend Landiga comes in. He's not done. He's not done with the membership gifting today. He drops another 10 bomb. We need some W's in the chat for Corey. Let me see what
I'll be back.
That's literally what he did. He's like, I'll be back, bro. And he brings us up to 50 members on the day. You guys crushed 2 goals. Very much appreciate that. I don't know where Boss is. Oh, he's right there. Boss, you good, man? You want some catnip now? Thank you, Corey, and everybody else who dropped any support. I rely on you guys to be able to continue to run this channel the way that I do, and I very much appreciate it. And Matt Fu comes in and drops another 5 bomb. Matt Fu with another 5 memberships gifted. He wants to bring us up to 55. He wants to keep it going. Matt, thank you so much, dude. What soundbite should I play for you here? Hold on. Here we go. There you go, Matt. That's for the 5 bomb, bro. I forgot. I know I have that sound on my soundboard. I always forget which one it is. And Hellbound 1981 drops another 5 bomb. Boss, you ready? You ready?
How can you stop? How can you stop?
Oh, Luna's here too. Guys, thank you so much. We just went from 40 to 60 members on the day. We'll have to do some reps towards the end of the stream. Here you go. I'm not putting it on the chair, boss. You good? Here you go, man. Don't go too crazy with it. Bro's getting a little too excited. Good stuff, guys. Thank you so much. We have a super chat from Delwyn Jones. 20-pound super chat. And Delwyn says, I don't have an issue with Nintendo raising prices. I just don't have anything, or you're saying you're just not interested enough to buy the Switch 2. My reaction hasn't changed. I don't have an excitement level. Every new PlayStation console do I have excitement. I mean, Delwyn, I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat as you, bro. Like, I do care about the price increases just because, again, I am worried about the precedent it could set for the industry. Boss, are you good? Hey. Did you guys see what just happened? Sorry. It's cracked out. Yeah, you freaking out, bro? You tripping? Luna, you want some treats? Come on. They're all yours. I can't leave Luna out. I'm just a little nervous about the precedent that Nintendo could be setting, where they're like the first one out to do $80 digital, $90 games for physical. And, somebody said yesterday, like, this could be a big win for Sony if Sony comes out with their marketing and like, we're not doing that. I mean, imagine that. Imagine Sony is going to be able, assuming they don't increase the prices like this year, Sony's going to be able to come out with Ghost of Yotei and be like, this is a $70 game. And again, it's not to dunk on the Switch 2. I don't mean it this way. Like, don't take it that way. But the reality is, like, even Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding 2 is going to run laps around, like, visually speaking, in terms of visuals, graphical fidelity, the technology it's using. It's going to run laps around anything that Nintendo puts out. Gameplay-wise, and gameplay is king, that's what's going to keep Nintendo hopefully at the top of their game. But I'm just saying, for me, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to feel that excitement unless Sony does something stupid, but I'm going to likely feel that excitement for the next PlayStation console. It just speaks to me. That's the best way I could put it. It's just, I think what Sony's doing now and what they're going to do speaks to me. What Microsoft's doing, I guess it does speak to me because they're bringing games over here. But outside of that, like what they're doing with Game Pass, what they're apparently going to be doing with hardware doesn't really speak to me. What Nintendo's doing isn't really speaking to me. So generally speaking, I'm in agreement with you, Delwyn. I mean, I pretty much feel the same way. I am a little bit nervous about the price increases, though. I mean, $90 for a physical Mario Kart game, it's tough, dude. Because somebody might say, well, if I pay $90 for a physical version of Mario Kart World, I'm going to play that game for like the next 8 to 10 years, and that's true. And listen, if you're going to pay $90 for a game that you're going to play for the next like almost a decade, that's worth it. Absolutely. Like I would easily pay. I would pay $100 for a game if it's a game I know I'm going to play consistently for a decade, easily. That's $10 per year. But saying the website says it's only 80 for physical. Oh, interesting. Okay. But that's where I feel like the scary part is that every publisher is going to think that, well, we can charge 80 or $90 for our game too. And it's like, actually, I don't know that this game is really going to be worth that. So I saw somebody say yesterday that if games do go up in price between 10 or $20, and that's like the new standard, it's going to make them extremely picky, even more picky than they already are. I saw a lot of people yesterday tell me that they just don't buy new games anymore. They don't even pay $70 for games. And, that was kind of surprising to see because well, I guess it's not shocking, but it's not that surprising. It's just, there's already a lot of people who don't pay $70 for games. There's going to be even more people who don't pay $80 or $90 for games. And if they end up going up to 100, yeah, you're going to see even less people. So it really is going to have to be like I think you're going to have to really pick and choose like which games you're going to be spending either the most time with, or you feel you're truly going to get that value out of. Because again, I said yesterday, and I'll reiterate it, it's not up to me to tell you or anybody else the value you are getting out of a game. That's up to you to decide. I wouldn't want people telling me how much value I'm getting out of my games that I'm playing. But every game is different. Every game is a different value proposition ultimately. So, but Delwyn, thank you so much for the super chat, dude. Yeah, it'll be interesting going into 2025, later this year and 2026. I'm assuming we're going to get more and more rumors about what Sony's planning on doing with their next console. People played MK8 for 10 years and it's still selling. I'm not surprised that they chose Mario Kart World. I mean, yeah, Josh, if you're talking about like which game do we choose to usher it in or test the waters, that's the game. And yeah, we $70 for Donkey Kong. It seems like they're going to pick and choose, man. And that's the message that I'm getting. And I do think that the majority of people are probably just going to be like, yeah, I'll just pay the extra $10. If you were already willing to pay, like, look, I know that this sounds shitty because it's like, well, that's exactly how the publisher's thinking. And this is why they're taking advantage of you. But it is, again, it's this human psychology. Don't be mad at me. Just be mad at, the human condition. Human psychology says if you're willing to pay 70 for this game on this, lesser console, surely you're willing to pay 80 for a better version of that game on a better console. And like, yeah, psychologically speaking, even on a subconscious level, like, yeah, probably, right? Frog in a boiling pot, basically. Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to use that as justification for the prices going up, but it's more of an explanation and the reality. It's like what Josh just said. Like, people are still buying Mario Kart 8, dude. And the price of that game did not go down at all, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah. I mean, I'm curious to see how this conversation progresses, the conversation around Nintendo's pricing, because, the past 2 days are the big explosion. I'm waiting to kind of see what the conversation morphs into once the dust is settled. and everything's clear. I want to know if we're looking at, again, a kind of PS5 Pro situation where everybody was just really upset at first and now nobody even cares. Oh, by the way, speaking of the PS5 Pro, I saw the craziest thing today. Value is subject to the player. Exactly, Josh. I saw the craziest thing today on Twitter. Shocker, I know. Saw something crazy on Twitter. I saw a meme that somebody made, and it went viral and got like 2.3 million views and a bunch of likes. And it was so stupid. It wasn't stupid. It was so inaccurate and false. That was like, this has to be a high level troll, right? Right? Obviously, I didn't get my answer. But the meme I'm talking about it's the Wojak guy, right? And up top, it's the angry Wojak, and then on the right, you got the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Kart 8, and it says $450, $80. And then below that, it has the super excited smiling Wojak, and next to it, it's got the PS5 Pro, $700, and The Last of Us Part 1, $70. And the person who posted that meme said, I can't deal with the hypocrisy anymore. And this was nuts for me to see, not the meme itself, but that it went viral, because it's like, that's not an accurate description of reality and what went down. And this was just like, you're talking about revisionism. Like, dude, it's been half a year. The PS5 Pro got dragged over the coals, bro. That shit got decimated. The price point got decimated. People were losing their minds. And The Last of Us Part 1, same thing. That game came out years ago at this point. People were crucifying it, being like, are you kidding me, Sony? So it's either a high-level troll, which it could be, and maybe I fell for it momentarily. I'm very much aware that I could have fallen for the troll, where it's like, the idea is, this is not depicting reality, and that's what makes it a troll. And the person who made it's just laughing, or the person actually made it in earnest and is seriously trying to convey this message. And I'm like, dude, that's not real. That's not how this went down. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, can you please do me a favor and hit that like button? It would help out the stream. You good? Luna didn't come eat her treats for some reason. All right. Yeah, that's what she wants. Birds. The Pro is like 5 times more powerful than the Nintendo Switch 2. People are such snowflakes. People were calling out the PS5 Pro for not being needed. Did people forget about that? Well, that's what I mean, man. I should have looked at the replies. I wish I could find it again, because if I looked at the replies, maybe I would have seen a bunch of people being like, no, that's not how this went down. But it was just really weird to see that. They're on the cat tower. Luna, come on. Get your treats. Up here. Come on. Luna, stop being weird. Come on, go get your treats. Okay. Sorry. She's just being weird. I don't know. Boss is watching her. I think he's making her feel nervous. By the way, I forgot to add Hellbound's 5 bomb to the goal here. There we go. All right. MBG, if I were to take a good faith interpretation, I think people are adjusting to the reality of costs with the Nintendo launch. People were shocked by the PS5 Pro because they didn't know back then, but now it's become a norm. Yeah. I mean, it does seem like maybe this is going to be the new reality. And I am prepared for that. I am. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like if the new standard of gaming becomes $80, then I'm going to quit. I'm not going to quit gaming. I don't want to sit here and say I'll pay any amount because that's not true either. But, I think about games like Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, GTA 6, Metal Gear Solid Delta, and probably many other games that are going to be coming out later this year, or even games coming out sooner. These are games that if it's like, yeah, it's going to be $80, it's like it would be easy for me in that moment to be like, I'm going to flip the table, but I want to play those games, dude. Like I have a pro, I have everything set up to enjoy these games, and it's like, yeah, I was willing to pay 70. And if you're going to try to like shake my pockets for an extra 10, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and get my blood pressure up over $10. Doesn't mean I don't value that $10. It just means that I value that game enough, that experience, to be willing to give you that extra $10. But I don't want to tell the publishers that. Now, I'm talking to a camera. Sony, if you're watching this, I'm just kidding. I ain't giving you $80. You hear me, Sony? I know you're watching. Somebody's there. Somebody there's watching right now. Don't do it. I'll leave. Just in case, just in case. Just in case somebody from Sony HQ is watching. All right. Cyberbullying? She's still doing the treats. I don't know why. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Boss. Okay, hold on. You're saying I'm being... Oh, who's cyberbullying me? Well, Dark Matt, I'm glad you're enjoying the content, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. Hanzo, are you a big Terminator fan? Because I see you reference Terminator. I've seen you reference Terminator a few times. You are. Did you play that game, Terminator Resistance? Do I think we'll get the Duskbloods on PlayStation? I'm thinking no. No, I don't think so. You did? You got the platinum? Nice, dude. Yeah, I was curious because I'm playing that game right now, and I'm very close to the platinum. I got my physical copy right here. I don't know if it's coming through good. Listen, man, the developer of this game, Teon, they're a small team. I think this game came out like 2019, and then they enhanced it for PS5. I guess they re-released it. You could tell it's a budget game, dude. You can. I actually never even played Monster Hunter, dude. I never even played it. I'm like, you know what? I just couldn't bring myself to. I wasn't in the right frame of mind. And I wasn't even planning on playing Terminator either. I wasn't even planning on playing it. I just saw it. You got the RoboCop Platinum too? Dude, I just saw this game on Amazon. It was like on sale. And I'm like, oh, yeah, shit. A Terminator game? Actually, I was just planning on adding it to my collection. I wasn't even planning on playing it. And then one day I was just like, you know what? Screw it. Why not? It's a Terminator game. I thought it was going to be like really bad. I don't know, it's gonna be like a garbage game, just like absolute trash. But it is a budget game. You could tell it's got a lot of imperfections. It's definitely rough around the edges. But in all honesty, like considering this was a game that was made on a budget by a smaller team, they did a pretty good job, man. Like it's a competent game. It feels pretty good to play. It has some good mechanics. I don't know. It's a game that kind of reminds me of like those PS2, PS3 games we used to get. You know, hardest trophy is the shooting gallery trophy. Is that in the Terminator game I'm talking about? Terminator Resistance? Oh, RoboCop. Okay. Yeah, we just got that for PS Plus. Is that the same developer? I think it is. Pretty sure it is. Let me see. Yeah, Teon. They're a Polish video game developer. Founded in 2006. Yeah, I heard really good things about RoboCop. I like Terminator a lot more than RoboCop, personally. I grew up, I mean, the RoboCop movies I hardly even remember. I remember like seeing them on TV. I think my grandmother watched them and I watched some of it with her. And I remember there being a RoboCop like cartoon. And I remember having a RoboCop action figure. But I never really got super into RoboCop. But maybe I'll give that a shot because I heard that's really good. And if if playing Terminator Resistance is anything to go off of, it seems like they're really good at kind of like capturing the right atmosphere, because that's the thing that I found pretty cool about Terminator Resistance is like it's a first person shooter and they did a good job, generally speaking, capturing the Terminator atmosphere. You play as like a survivor, in the Resistance. I mean, that's why the name of the game's Resistance. And it's after Judgment Day. And it's just got a good vibe. It's got a good vibe. It is rough. Like it's that's why I'm kind of curious about RoboCop, because like if RoboCop is as good as people say it is, then it tells me that the developer improved quite a bit. But yeah, dude, it's an easy platinum from what I can tell. The Terminator Resistance game. That's another reason I decided to play. I'm like, oh, it's like what, 10 hours long, and there's like one missable trophy. Sure, yeah, that sounds good to me. It's been a while since I've earned a platinum. You'll buy that for $1. I think it was like $18 or something. I mean, if RoboCop's, let me see. So the Terminator Resistance Platinum Power Picks gives it a difficulty rating of 3 out of 10. RoboCop's Platinum Power Picks gives RoboCop a 3 out of 10. So it's about it's the same. Are there missable trophies? 0. Nothing is missable. Game keeps a permanent autosave for each main mission, which you can still reload after the story and replay anything. I love it. Yeah, I might have to give it a shot. It seems like they have a formula for these games. Yeah, the Terminator 2D game. I think I'm gonna get that too. I want like a proper AAA Terminator game. I want to see the Terminator actually make a comeback. I have a question when it comes to the Terminator series. If they were gonna like reboot it and actually seriously try again, do you think they can move on without Arnold as the T-800? I mean, I feel like they probably could, but I don't know that I would want to see them. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, Hanzo. Like, even if they just got to CGI his ass, over and over again. Even if, like, in the future, Arnold's not with us anymore, they got to he gives permission for him to use his AI voice. I actually haven't seen the Netflix anime. I heard it's really good. Arnold literally dies in every Terminator film. That's a good point. It's a good point. It's just for me, yeah, Arnie, he is the Terminator, man. But what I was gonna say is I would love to see a real proper AAA Terminator game. That'd be so cool. It would actually what would be amazing is to get like a survival horror Terminator game. Basically something that replicates the overall feeling and the vibe of Terminator 1. I know Terminator 2 is like considered the GOAT, and I guess it is, but there's really something to be said about how Terminator 1 is kind of like a horror movie in some instances, if not horror, just a thriller. And I think ever since Terminator 2, I think the only other time, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only other time I think I recall seeing Arnold as the Terminator in a threatening way, like a scary way, was in Terminator Salvation. And he was CGI, I think, in that, where they first came across the factory where they were manufacturing the T-800s. Outside of that, I don't remember if they ever made him, because I don't even think I saw the last Terminator movie, dude. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, what are they doing? I don't know. Pragmatic Cat, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Leveling up. Super stickers always get me, bro. Perfect Image with another $2 direct donation. You're saying here, bro, I hope minorities don't think I'm bullying them because I used to be one. My mom was a single parent. If it wasn't for my communion money, I wouldn't have got the N64. No, I don't think anybody's taking it that way, or at least they shouldn't. I just think that, I think what you're saying is just true. Perfect Image, like the market is, like I said, the market speaks for itself. And if the mass market, the majority of the market says they're okay with something, it's just the reality of it, you know? Third person or first? I feel like I think third person because I think Resident Evil and Silent Hill for like survival horror, but first person could be very scary for a Terminator. Thinking like Alien Isolation. For UMBG, there would also be person hardship as well as YouTube ad revenue will be cut as Google loses value more and more as people can't buy anything. You think the donations will dry up? Well, I don't know, man. What am I going to do? I can only do what I can do. I'm focused on just trying to control what I can control. Like, I live in the US, everybody's panicking about the tariffs and what Trump's doing. And it's like, look, man, obviously I'm a little bit worried. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want bad things to happen. I don't want people's lives to be turned upside down. I don't want my life to be turned upside down. But at the end of the day, I don't have any control over what's happening right now. I can't change it. I can't do anything about it. No amount of worry or anxiety or, thinking about the future and what could happen, none of that is going to help anything. I just have to focus on the actions that I can take in the moment and in the not too distant future. And, when it comes to running my channel, I'm just going to keep doing the best I can, man. I hope I don't get to a point where I can't afford to be a PlayStation player anymore. I know that sounds silly, but hopefully not. Like, I'm grateful that I'm able to run this channel. I'm extremely grateful. I'm grateful that I'm able to afford to buy the things that I want and engage with them and enjoy. It wasn't always like that. Certainly not. I know what it's like to struggle. I would prefer not to have to go back to that. But I know what it's like, And if there's one thing that struggling does, is it teaches you how to be grateful for what you have. Teaches you to be more grateful for the little things. And if anything, going through some struggle makes you even more grateful if things go better, if you get more in the future. So I'm not necessarily worried about it in the sense that I'm just not going to let it affect my day to day. I'm in the same boat as everybody else of 99% of people. Like, stuff's out of my hands. It's out of my control. I'm just going to try to do what I can each day. Daniel Flores, you're saying, thanks for keeping most of your content PlayStation related MBG. It's rare these days. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about the Switch as well, but I think that's understandable. But I'm still trying to. I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, it's times like this that I think people there. Like, I have encountered people who have called me a grifter. It's like, I'm not a grifter, dude. Like, if that was the case, PlayStation is not what I would be talking about right now. It's one of the last things I would be talking about. There's really not a whole lot going on right now at PlayStation. They're kind of in the shadows doing their own thing or getting ready for Marathon or Days Gone Remastered, and who knows what in May and June. But no, I'm choosing to talk about PlayStation right now because this is genuinely what I'm interested in and what gets me excited. And, you know, if anything, I have to go out of my way to talk about the other things. I got to go out of my way to talk about Nintendo a little bit because I still am a content creator, you know, like I do have to acknowledge these different things going on, but I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad. We have GTV with a $2 direct donation. Thank you for the direct donos, guys. They do help. You're saying, is platinuming Returnal worth it? The roguelite kills my ambition for it. Also, is Days Gone really worth playing? It never impressed me when I watched. Good questions. Starting with Returnal, GTV, I'm going to say when it comes to platinuming Returnal, be careful. Just because that game was very frustrating to platinum. Not because of the difficulty. I don't know if you've played Returnal yet, GTV, but Returnal, it is pretty difficult. You're going to have to pretty much get good at it. But once you do, the game's amazing. You know, it's amazing up front, but it's really once it clicks and once you get it. You know, that's when it happens. Corey, what's planned for next week? Apparently, Sony is going to be doing, well, I don't know if it's going to be Sony with Bungie or just Bungie alone, but the big Marathon blowout. So I don't know if that's a game you're excited for. I don't know if you mentioned something about Destiny earlier, so I don't know if you're looking forward to Marathon, but apparently next week, we're going to be seeing the big reveal of Marathon, and I'm very curious to see how it goes. And Daniel Flores, thank you for becoming a member. I really appreciate that, dude. Bringing us up to 61 members on the day. Good stuff, dude. Good stuff. I very much appreciate that support. When it comes to Returnal's Platinum, GTV, there are like glyphs that you have to find throughout the levels, and they're completely RNG. They're randomly generated. I was done with Returnal at around the 70-hour mark. I did everything I needed to do. I was definitely done playing the game. I'm like, I'm good. But I needed one more glyph to get the platinum. And I basically had to spend the next 30 hours replaying one specific level and searching that level because everything's randomly generated. And it took 30 hours to get that final glyph. And I got pissed. Like, I won't lie. Like, at around like the 90, 93-hour mark, I was like, I'm going to quit. I'm going to uninstall it. I'm done. And it damn near broke me because I just needed that last glyph and I got it. So I'll be honest, man, when it comes to platinuming Returnal, I don't know that I can recommend it, but it's still an amazing game. I can absolutely recommend playing it. And if you're not a trophy hunter, play the game. Even if you are a trophy hunter, play it. Maybe don't platinum it. Or if you just want to go for it, go for it. But it's a great game. Oh, you were surveyed before the Destiny alpha years ago. So you never actually played Destiny? Wait, how'd you get surveyed for Destiny if you didn't play Destiny, if you weren't going to play Destiny? Is it because you were a Halo player, Corey? He's secretly a Halo fan. Corey's a closet Halo fan. I don't know. And to answer the second part of your question, is Days Gone remaster going to be worth it? You said you weren't too thrilled by the gameplay you watched. I mean, I will say if you've seen it depends on how much gameplay you've seen. If you've seen like an extended chunk of gameplay, Um, if you've seen an extended chunk of gameplay of Days Gone and you just kind of were like, this isn't doing it for me, you might not. Yeah, you're probably not going to enjoy it. I think Days Gone is one of those games where, of course, you won't know exactly how it feels to play it unless you have it in your hands. That's true for all games. But if you watch an extended chunk of gameplay, you probably get a good idea, of what the game's going to be like. And if it's really not speaking to you, I don't think you're just going to suddenly feel different. But I did really like Days Gone. It's one of my favorite games, and it was really fun. But you gotta. I'm like afraid to recommend it. You know what I mean? Like if you saw the gameplay and you're like, it wasn't really speaking to you, because I'm assuming since you didn't play it originally, you would have to pay $50, and I don't want to like recommend it and be like, well, listen here. When Days Gone Remaster comes out, I'll probably be doing some gameplay on the channel at some point. So you can maybe wait for that. Watch me play a little bit. Does anyone know if you get the auto pop if you already got the platinum? Yeah, you do. You do. You can get the auto platinum. Josh Z with a $10 chat. Thank you, buddy. He says Switch 2 upgrades are free for all NSO expansion pack users, and they just added GameCube for Switch 2. It's interesting how they've handled their subservice compared to PlayStation and Xbox. It does seem like they're doing it very differently. Yeah, I mean, and I guess it makes sense. The GameCube. I got the sense that when they announced GameCube titles, people were pretty stoked for that. Um, the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that Nintendo going into the Switch 2, they're going to have to embrace being more aggressive, I would say, with just online functionality, which I think that's why introducing like party chat and the camera, like that was such a big deal. But also, yeah, like here's why you're going to want to subscribe to our sub service. Here's what we're going to offer. And I do wonder what else they maybe have planned for Nintendo Switch Online, simply because we've seen the big changes that have occurred to both Microsoft and Sony's subservices. We've seen Microsoft mold their, what was Xbox Live now into Game Pass. We've seen Sony go from just PS Plus to now PS Plus Extra and Premium. And now we're seeing Nintendo with, adding GameCube titles. I mean, it does seem like, and I said this yesterday, it does seem like as the price of things are going up, these subscription services, I think, are going to be much more appealing as that continues to happen. So you got invited to the alpha through a survey. You played through Halo on PC. Don't know if it had any impact on the alpha invite. Wow, that's so random. I'm assuming you didn't like it, though, right? Like if you... Well, actually, you said you got invited to the alpha through a survey. You didn't even say you played the alpha. I played Destiny 1 for a while, and then I just stopped. I liked it for a little bit, but then I just completely fell off of it. And then I played Destiny 2, and I fell off of Destiny 2 after like a couple hours. I'm like, I'm good. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about Marathon, but I do like the extraction shooter genre. Like, I don't have much experience with it, but I like the concept. I played a lot of Battle Royale. I played some extraction shooter. So I'm really curious to see what Bungie's take on it is. You played it for a bit, got bored, and said, fuck it. So, in other words, you're stoked for Marathon. Is The Last of Us 2 doing good on PC? Let me check. Let's go check again. $23,300. Jesus. let's try that again. 23,350 is the all-time peak so far for The Last of Us Part 2. It's got good reviews. 2,000 reviews, 86% positive. There's 22,000 people in game right now. So, but the peak 20, we'll just round it to 23,000, 23.4K. Keep it simple. I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, I don't think is that bad? I don't know. We were talking about this yesterday too. I don't know. I'm assuming Sony is just like, okay. You think it's kind of bad? I mean, yeah. Well, I'm looking at it through the lens of how well did The Last of Us Part 1 do on PC? The Last of Us Part 1 did 36K. So this is like trending, like 13K below. So 13,000 people seemingly that were there for The Last of Us Part 1 decided to skip Part 2. I'll admit, it doesn't seem like it's doing that great. I don't know how consequential it is to Sony, because I don't know how much money they put into this, but it is worth noting that the HBO series still hasn't launched yet. I think that's launching in a week or so. So it'll be interesting to see if that has any type of impact on the uptake of this game on PC. I keep belching for some reason. Is it even worth porting at those numbers? I mean, I don't know. They're still doing them, so maybe. The real question we have to ask is if Sony is not completely satisfied with these numbers, does this make it more or less likely that they're going to go day and date with like The Last of Us Part 3 or Intergalactic? That's the tough question, because the alternative, if they don't go day and date, is that they either just keep doing this and getting underwhelming results, or just okay results, okay to weak results, or they stop doing it. And if they stop doing it, it means they're foregoing the PC audience. And I don't know that I feel convinced that they're going to do that. So I still think I'm leaning towards they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. I think Sony's, they look at the sales data for The Last of Us Part 2 on PC and they're just like, whatever. Nixxes handled it. Nixxes is our PC port studio, and we just made some extra money off of this game that we released 5 years ago. I think that's how they view it, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe they're looking at those numbers and they're like, really? This is it? This is the best we can do? One thing I will say that seems to be clear, though, is that I think when we saw the initial batch of PlayStation games launching on PC, Spider-Man 1, God of War 2018, Horizon Zero Dawn, even Days Gone, I think these games did so well because of the novelty, because it's new, right? Like, oh man, like Sony games are coming. I think it's part of the reason why, like right now, I think some of Microsoft's games are about to do really good, because it's like Microsoft's games are coming, but eventually it's just going to become, okay, well, it's just another publisher putting games on the platform, so they're going to be viewed as every other publisher. All right, Hanzo, take care, man. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping this up soon. We'll do like a last call. We're going to be wrapping the stream up in a couple minutes. It's like extremely humid outside. I'm going to have to, I think, turn the air conditioning on or lower, because like it's getting really uncomfortable in here. So we'll do a last call. If you want to drop any more memberships, if you want to become a member, direct donations, super chats, now is the time to do it. because we're going to be wrapping up in just a couple of minutes, and we'll be back here on Sunday. But when it comes to Sony's, I'm going to have to change the. God damn it! I just realized I had From Software in the title, and I didn't even talk about. I got to stop doing this. I don't know what to do. I'm tired of clickbaiting you guys. Apparently the actual definition of clickbait is just straight up not talking about the thing or not acknowledging the thing that you put in the title or thumbnail. And I keep accidentally clickbaiting you guys. I really need to stop that. Talk about it. It just sucks because I can, but I feel like I'm going to rush through it now because I'm reaching the end of the stream. But basically, From Software confirmed that they're not abandoning single player games. Let me see if I can find the full quote. Hidetaka Miyazaki came out. Let me see if I can find it. It was like everywhere earlier. Hold on, give me just a moment. Here we go. Hidetaka Miyazaki says the Duskbloods started on Switch 1, or it started as a Switch 1 game that they pitched to Nintendo. Later, Nintendo told them about the Switch 2, and they moved development to the Switch 2. Quote, a while back, we had the opportunity to meet with Nintendo to discuss ideas, and during the discussion, we presented a rough outline for the Duskbloods. It was still very bare bones at the time, more of a loose string of ideas than a proper presentation. The concept itself was different from anything we had done before, and Nintendo seemed very interested in helping make it a reality. So that's when the project kicked off. At first, it was being worked on by a small team as a title for Nintendo Switch. However, just as the game started to take shape, we were approached by Nintendo with talk of Switch 2, which led us to revamp our development path with this new hardware in mind. The new hardware's focus on online features allowed us to stay as true to the original vision as possible, which was very good news for us. So that's one of the things he said. And he also says here, or this is at least coming from Shinobi602, Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive The Duskbloods will not distract From Software from single-player games, says Hidetaka Miyazaki. Quote, we still intend to actively develop single-player focused games that embrace our more traditional style, end quote. Here's a longer quote. He says, quote, as a side note, please allow me to address one thing. As previously mentioned, this is an online multiplayer title at its core, but this doesn't mean that we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer-focused direction with titles going forward. The Nintendo Switch 2 version of Elden Ring was also announced, and we still intend to actively develop single-player focused games such as that to embrace our more traditional style, end quote. So, I don't know that this needed to be said, and Gavin Hillett comes in and drops a membership gift. Gavin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gavin, at the last moment here, or towards the end of the stream, is dropping a single, bringing us to 62. Really appreciate the support on the day, guys. It really does mean a lot. I know I sound like a broken record, but I just, I really enjoy doing this, and I'm very thankful. And I'm really thankful to have such a solid group of people here, such a solid community that allow me to continue to do this. AKA Sekiro 2, here we come. Well, I mean, From Software has always got multiple projects in development. So, I mean, Elden Ring Night Rain is coming in May, and then next year they have the Duskbloods for Switch 2. I mean, I would imagine the next game is going to be single player. Oh, yeah, we got to do the lifting. All right, here we go. Got to get some reps. I'll get a couple in. Told you guys if we hit 50 members, we do some reps. Although I have to set something up. Give me just a moment. Guys, I expect you to drop a ton of memberships while I do some reps. I want to see the memberships flow. Although I got to see if I can even find this. We got to get some Metal Gear in here, man. Oh, wait, did I lose it? Hold on. I can't find the proper audio file for some reason, and I'm getting very annoyed. But as I'm sitting here doing absolutely nothing, Sal comes in and drops 5 more memberships. Sal's keeping it going. He says, I'm going to drop those memberships for the reps, bro. Sal, thank you so much. I'll give you a...
What the fuck is this world? What have they done to us?
Sal, what have they done to us, man? What is this world? What have they done to us? You add that to the counter. I'm trying to find the Metal Gear music, dude. I used to have a Metal Gear soundtrack, and I can't find it. I don't know why. Yeah, huge turnout today for memberships, man. Love to see it. Love to see it. I mean, either way, I'm going to do the reps. It's just we can do the reps in awkward silence, and you can hear me grunting, or we can do it with some exciting music in the background. I also have to be careful which tracks I use. I used to use these metal tracks or like rock tracks and stuff, and I got a notification from YouTube that some of these tracks are now going to be like monetized or copyrighted or whatever. Here we go. I think I got it. So let's see if we can make this happen. I was trying to keep doing reps until the very end, but I couldn't do it. The burn was too great, man. I think it was like 22 reps or something like that, 23. Not too bad. Not too bad. And V Game Veteran comes in and drops another member gift. He's like, I got you, bro. Getting the reps in. I'll drop a membership gift. Thank you so much for that, V Game Veteran.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think that brings us up to 68. 68 members on the day, so not too shabby. I agree. It's like WarioWare in here. Oh, I totally forgot. When we were going to react to the Switch 2 event. I was supposed to play Waluigi ASMR. You guys ready? Future of Nintendo is here. All right. This is what you guys get. And we have Guy Gravity coming in. He says more. More Waluigi ASMR. He drops a membership gift, guys. We are at 69 memberships on the day. We did it. That was vile. Oh, I'm going to make it a soundbite. What was that? That was a Waluigi ASMR. Doesn't get any better. Doesn't get any better. What does 100 get you? I don't know. I didn't have anything planned for 100 members, but let me just update the member goal, and I think we'll wrap it up. If anybody wants to drop one more to get us to 70, now is the time to do it. But if you want to keep it at 69, I totally understand. There we go. We did it. Success. Now I'm just going to leave and play Waluigi ASMR for the next hour. So thank you guys. I'm going to play it for 69 minutes. I'm just kidding. I would not do that to you guys. But I think that's going to do it for today's stream. If I go any longer, I'm at risk of completely losing it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's stream. And seriously, thank you so much for all of the support. We did hit 69 members. All jokes aside, that's incredible. We have an amazingly generous community here, and I am incredibly thankful for that. I simply could not do what I do here if it wasn't for that support. Those of you who dropped super chats, direct donations, became a member, dropped membership gifts. We are totally fan funded. We don't do sponsorships here on the channel. And that, again, is because you guys are the sponsors. So, yeah, the only other thing I'm going to ask you to do is as you're leaving the stream, please hit that like button. It does help with YouTube's algorithm, which is important, but it also, just lets me know you guys enjoyed the stream. So, yeah, I'm going to have to, I guess I could still technically put From Software in the title, but we talked about it for like 5 minutes at the very end of the stream. So, guys, please enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy your weekend. We're going to be back here on Sunday. We'll probably have, we will have a stream on Sunday. We may also have a video as well. So that does it, guys. I'll play this last soundbite from Boss, and then we'll head out of here.
Hey guys, it's Boss here again, Meow. I can't wait for the next stream, Meow, so we can hang out and eat snacks together. It's gonna be a good time. Meow.
And that does it. So, guys, please take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one. So, till then, later. I never end my streams like that, but I don't want to say take care like 3 times. I just said it again anyway. All right, I'm out.